It is 8th of June 2023. Good morning. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. It is a day that indeed we have two things that are essentially headlining the country. A call for reconciliation from the president, that is President Dr. William Ruto. And number two, a day when all eyes are in a parliament today. The National Assembly is going to start debating on the Finance Bill 2023, a document that has essentially drawn mixed reactions from the country. We've seen civil service unions protesting the Finance Bill 2023, and the president has taken his time to call upon the government and leaders across the country to come in and support this bill in what he says is a sincere call for all the leaders in the country to come in and support the government so that they can offer jobs, deliver on their promise, and actually drum up support to grow the economy. Now, yesterday, these were his words that any leader who's opposing the Finance Bill 2023 is, not in my words, and I'm going to say it, and I quote, insincere. Do you agree that any other leader in the country then who's opposing this particular bill is insincere? That's the question that I want to ask you this morning as we look into what were his key note points when he drummed up support for the Finance Bill 2023. Also now, we do know that indeed it is 80 billion or more that has been injected into those budget proposals. We've seen them, and we're going to tell you exactly what are the wins in these particular ones, because again, counties seem to be the ones smiling all the way to the bank, because indeed they've been given up more monies at a time when they're crying of cash crunch within those particular devolved units as well. That not being the only thing that we're going to look at this morning, because indeed the Azimio coalition did say they have a plan to stop the finance bill from going through. Now, what they're saying is that indeed we should brace ourselves for demos again. Is that the magic bullet to making the government then stop anything as much as the finance bill is concerned? But even as we talk about it, we do know that there's already a petition in court that wants to stop the finance bill in entirety. That is the Okium Tata petition that is essentially looking at the 16% VAT that essentially, according to his argument, is going to undo everything that the government wants to do in terms of the cost of living. The 3% VAT, the 3% housing fund that is supposed to also be rematched by the employers in the country, so you can actually call it 16% VAT. Is also talking about the insurance compensation and the 20% pay before you play. We're also going to talk about that this morning. But then again, put into consideration the split now that we're reading within the Kenya Kwanza camp in as regards the Finance Bill 2023. Again, we shall be live right here on Lookuptv at the National House as the members of parliament then kick in and weigh in on what it is that majority of you, by the way, in a public participation process have really talked about the Finance Bill 2023. But even that also forms the back end of our conversations here. Was the public participation process enough? You could say that. Was it sufficient enough then to inform what is supposed to be the budget 2023-2024? Well, I can see the studio is already getting full with the gentleman who was going to join us this morning. I'll be introducing them shortly. What I do know is that we are live online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Talk to us. The hashtag is the Morning Drift. I am at Kiage Simba. Well, for now, let's take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to whatever it is that you are waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. In case you're just joining us, this is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. Talk to us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is already building up, the Morning Drift. Good. All right, let's then look at what it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. And I do have the Daily Nation here this morning. Now, here's the headline, and we're going to compare what the Daily Nation has with the Standard as well this morning, because we are coming from the back of the National Prayer Day. Now, this is what the Daily Nation is reading this morning. The bigger headline is here, is members of Parliament, World Bank warn Ruto on tax. So you see, it's not just the citizenry that is actually crying on these particular tax proposals in the Finance Bill 2023, as we are waiting for the 15th. Then the 15th then is going to be the final draft then for the budget 2023-2024. So here is what it's saying. The budget for the financial year 2023-2024, it is 3.6 trillion, the biggest one yet in the country, an increase of 295.7 billion from the budget document that we actually are currently running under 2022-2023, which was at 3.84 trillion. Good. If we look at what they've given us here, development expenditure here is pegged at 743.15 billion. Counties are bound to receive 385.4 billion. We did see those budget estimates, by the way, that went up by 80 billion. That meant that indeed the counties are the ones who are going to win in this particular one. Again, when you look at the interest on public debt now, it is at 775.14 billion, and then we do have the principal debt redemption that is pegged at 840.1 billion. But if you look at the taxes that essentially members of Parliament and World Bank are wanting Ruto on, we do have 16% VAT on fuel, up from 8%. The 3% housing levy that employers are also supposed to match. We do have 15% withholding tax for digital content creators and 15% excise duty on mobile money transfers, up from 12%. Now, this is the kicker, that the House Committee and the World Bank have cautioned President William Ruto against his ambitious taxation plan, warning that the country's economy is in a bad shape and that the new measures could sink more Kenyans into poverty. Now, but warning, this seems to contradict the lawmakers' recommendation to inflate Dr. Ruto's maiden budget by 80.7 billion shillings, a move that is likely to place an extra burden on taxpayers. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about this morning in seemingly what is a split in the National House, by the way, with also the conversations that we've seen from the President and the Deputy President, talking about how all eyes are going to be in the National House and watching keenly on how the members of Parliament are going to vote and debate on this particular bill, that is the Finance Bill 2023. And indeed, again, like I've said, stick with us right here on Lookuptv, because we shall be live, giving you live pictures and voices from that particular Parliament today. Again, now, a story that happened yesterday and which we did cover right here on Lookuptv on Greater Debt is the National Prayer Day events, right there, that were calls for peace and unity. That's exactly what we did see there. President William Ruto essentially took that time as well to chat or drum up support for the Finance Bill 2023, indicating that indeed any other leader in the country who was opposing that particular bill was, again, like I told you, in quotes, insincere. Again, we talk about that particular one this morning as well. Now, conversations about how schools have been going through a cash crunch. The Ministry of Education has already spoken about it, saying the schools are to receive this particular funds tomorrow. That is today. Hopefully, it's a story that we'll be following as well, and we shall be reporting on it right here on the Morning Drift. Again, that is exactly what they have covered at length right here on the Daily Nation. So grab yourself a copy and you get with this story. This story on the Finance Bill and the warnings from members of Parliament of the World Bank has been covered on pages 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Daily Nation. At this point, then, let's jump into the Standard this morning so that we can actually also see whatever it is that they have covered right here at Greater Debt. All right, Prayer Day. It was a day for tax talk, outshining unity call. That's the particular headline right there, with pictures there of President William Ruto, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, and First Lady Rachel Ruto, Pastor Dorcas Gachagua, were the speakers of Parliament, Moses Wetangula and Amason Kingi, during the National Prayer Breakfast meeting at Safari Park Hotel yesterday. Well, you did see what those pictures were. Now, this is the kicker, that in spite of the theme of yesterday's prayers, which were boycotted by the opposition, being reconciliation and God and man, President Ruto took the opportunity to rail at those opposing the finance bill, saying they are insincere. Read that story into pages 6 and 7 of the Standard. Again, this morning, we're going to have that conversation right here on the Morning Drift, so stick around for that particular conversation. But then there's a story here that again informs our conversation this morning on how 80 billion or more has already been thrown to Ruto to spend in ramping up a limping economy. That is exactly what this particular government has been saying since they came into office, and indeed they're sticking true to that word, because indeed you can actually see the 80 billion is essentially been pushed into that expenditure so that they can correct the wrongs of the previous regime. And those are the quotes that we've seen from this particular government. Now, budget estimates presented to Parliament yesterday show the figure has gone up by 80 billion from the initial projections, with education and health taking the lion's share. By the way, also conversations about how majority of governors in the country are disgruntled to what has been a move also by the national government then to sort of take some functions of the health ministry from the governors back to the national government, with also majority of the hospitals in the country threatening to abandon NHIF as the national government, has failed then to deliver or make up payments for that particular scheme. Good. Also be talking about that this morning. Okay, the story here on pages 14 of the Standard on how now indeed the Shakahola massacre, if you like us to call it that, this morning has also grabbed regional headlines, with calls from the country to put an end to the madness that has been witnessed at Shakahola. That is exactly what the Standard has prioritized this morning as well. There's been a lot of movements, by the way, for those of us who are following sports. Just quickly, before we take a tiny breather as well, before we come back to the newsroom and get to give you the biggest headline that you're waking up to this morning, for those who are following sports, it looks like the Saudi League is really taking a lot of players from Europe. We do have Karim Benzema now, who's already joined them. Golo Kante for Chelsea fans, it looks as if he's going over the other side. Talks about how Mahrez as well might actually end up in Saudi. We do know that Cristiano Ronaldo is already there, and Traore as well might actually make himself there. We were sort of thinking the Lionel Messi would go there, but now it looks as if it is Inter Miami for Lionel Messi in this particular one. Well, those are some of the headlines that you are waking up to this morning. So grab yourself a copy this morning so you can actually also be part and parcel of whatever it is that the country is talking about this morning. For now, we take a tiny little breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, and then we'll be taking you straight to the newsroom. Well, we shall be sharing with you some of the biggest headlines that you are waking up to this morning. Good morning. All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. Now let's take a look at some of the headlines that you're waking up to this morning. Now there was drama at the Kakamega Sub-County Police Station after a local politician stormed in accusing senior police officers in the station of holding his bail of one of 140,000 shillings, which was given when he was arrested during the general election in the year 2022. He further said that another 1.6 million shillings that was meant to pay agents during the general election was lost in the hands of the police.
Malinya Police Station in Ikolomani, Kakamega County saw a web of confusion on Wednesday after Hamisi Butichi, a local politician, stormed the station to demand his cash bail. Hamisi, who ran for Member of Parliament seat in Ikolomani in the last year elections, claims that after he was arrested on the night of August 8th, the year 2022, and released on cash bail of 140,000 Kenyan shillings, only for the money to vanish in police hands.
During 2022 elections, I was arrested at night from my house by these two police officers commanding a station. And during that process, they confiscated my property. They confiscated 3 vehicles and 5 motorbikes. Unfortunately, after the DPP had released us, we didn't have any case to answer.
Butichi further noted that his endless efforts to demand back the cash bail from the police have proven futile.
The OCS, who is Mr. Mutinda, has reluctantly refused this year. He has refused to release one of my motorbikes, plus what we call cash bail. We had placed a cash bail here of 140,000. He still holds on it.
Anthony Amusala, one of the area campaign planners in the 2022 general elections, claimed that 1.6 Kenyan million shillings that was to pay his agents was also taken by the police during their arrest, adding that they as leaders were put on the spot for not paying their workers.
I was the chairman of the campaign team. I'm the one who counted the 1.6 million and placed it in the engineer's vehicle. That money was meant to pay the agents, and I was in charge of it. I've never paid agents. I still have their dates up to now. It has soiled our name because we are bad debtors. We employed people whom we could not pay.
Innocent Ogaro, Lookuptv.
Now on to a story that we have been following right here as Lookuptv. 7 bodies have been exhumed in a Shakahola forest as the Phase 3 exhumation exercise continues. This brings the death toll to 258 as 95 people were also rescued in the exercise. Speaking to the media, Coast Regional Coordinator Rhoda Onyancha noted that 19 bodies have been identified by family members as 613 people have also been reported missing. The exhumation exercise is set to continue today.
We will get Mackenzie and his collaborators convicted on the basis of evidence and the law. It's as simple as that. And the reason why I said that he will stay in prison forever is because I am aware the kind of punishment that is given to people who commit the kind of crimes he has committed. Based on my professional background, I'm aware what kind of punishment is visited on such people.
Kithure Kindiki holds a PhD in law. And whatever is stated was sub judice. The matter is in court. So we want to know if the said CS is running an independent judiciary or court apart from the one established by the Constitution of Kenya. And we expect the CS and any other legal-minded person to assume them to be innocent until proved guilty.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu said there is no confusion in the junior secondary education, saying that parents are solely responsible for their children's lunchtime meals. He further noted that parents who were unable to pay lunch fee are allowed to pack food for their children to carry to school.
In junior secondary school guidelines Cabinet Secretary for Education Ezekiel Machogu appearing before the National Assembly Wednesday afternoon, carefully responding to questions from members of the House.
Indeed, there is no contradiction because 861 clearly states that providing lunch in our schools, particularly primary and junior secondary, is the responsibility of the parents.
It was in the matter of Guideline 8.61, which states that the provision of school meals in JSS will be the responsibility of parents or guardians, that the CS sought to explain, and Guideline 8.62 requiring the leadership of JSS to ensure that no learner drops out of school as a result of failure to pay the lunch program.
And even those who are not able to pay, because there are parents who say...
Ezekiel Machogu family explained that no student would miss school on account of lack of lunch fees, adding that needy students would still get to eat even if they had not paid any fee. Supplementary questions brought before the House by nominated Member of Parliament Irene Mayaka prompted the CS to elaborate on measures his docket was taking to ensure textbooks are handed down to siblings and how the high cost of food prices would affect parents and learners.
Sometimes these figures that are being given by schools might not conform with what we have at the market prices when you go out to the market, and particularly when they are competitive.
Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino clearly expressed his lack of support for the competency-based curriculum CBC, bringing Machogu back to the microphone.
The incompetency-based curriculum, the Cabinet Secretary, can we do away with this system? Because we are wasting our children. They are acting as a control experiment which is going to backfire.
We have been able to discuss on the merits of CPC, such that we have to align ourselves with what is happening not only in the region, we have to align ourselves with the 21st century.
Audrey Cherotich, Lookuptv.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has said the government has released 100 million shillings aimed at rebuilding schools vandalized by bandits in the North Rift region. Speaking at a public baraza in Lokori, Turkana East, the CS lauded security officers on the front line for executing their assignment with the utmost professionalism in the ongoing Maliza Uhalifu joint operation in the region.
As the government continues to combat insecurity in the North Rift, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, while on a visit in Turkana, noted that 100 million Kenya shillings has been released to aid in construction of schools vandalized by bandits and armed criminals. Kindiki further added that the government will next week establish and commission 4 new administrative units in Turkana County to facilitate delivery of services.
Itatoa pesa. Serikali ya Kenya itatoa pesa ya kujenga upya. Wakati viongozi wenu wameketi na Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi sikuwa katika mkutano, lakini walinieleza vile waliafikiana, kwa sababu siku hiyo nilikuwa msituni huko napambana na wakora. Lakini yale yaliafikianwa ni kwamba viongozi wenu waketi na watuambie ni shule ngapi hapa Turkana ambazo zilifungwa kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa usalama, na serikali itapeana shilingi milioni 100 ya kujenga upya shule hizo. Tutatumia wanajeshi wetu na vijana wetu wa huduma ya taifa.
During his visit, the CS held a security briefing with Turkana County Security and Intelligence Committee, where he lauded officers in the front lines in the ongoing Maliza Uhalifu joint operation. Meanwhile, Kilgoris Member of Parliament Julius Sunkuli has asked the CS to intervene in clashes that have erupted within Transmara and bring calm to the region.
Minister, do send a permanent group of GSU and RDU officers to the site, and the community and ourselves are prepared to give land and housing to those officers so that they can deal with the situation adequately. I therefore request for a statement, Mr. Speaker, from the CS of the Interior to explain what he can promptly and urgently do to deal with the lawlessness in this area.
And in Nakuru, police have arrested 78 people linked to gang groups that have been terrorizing Nakuru residents recently. Nakuru County Commissioner Loyford Kibara confirmed that among those arrested is Solomon Buru, a suspected Maoki gang leader, a splinter group allied to the confirmed gang. This now brings the total number of arrests in the last 3 weeks to 380. David Alex, Lookuptv.
David Alex. Now, members of parliament are seeking to apply an act of parliament to access the consolidated fund amounting to 2.3 trillion shillings for the Kenya Kwanza administration to use it for its projects ahead of budget reading next week. Shadrach Kareria with that story.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For the second time, the Kenya Kwanza administration is once again seeking the authorization of the parliament to use the consolidated fund amounting to 2.3 trillion Kenyan shillings that is in the treasury to fund its ministries and state departments.
The Honorable Member for Gilgil.
Should the motion tabled by Kiharu Member of Parliament Dindi Nyoro see the light of the day in Parliament, the Office of the President will receive an allocation of 4.3 billion shillings, while the Office of his Deputy will get an allocation of 3.7 billion shillings. The Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary will receive an allocation of 1.1 billion, where 7.3 billion Kenyan shillings will go to State House. Different ministries and state departments are also meant to benefit from the said fund, where the correction services will receive an allocation of 35.9 billion shillings. The National Police Service will get an allocation of 106.4 billion shillings, where Ministry of Education will receive an allocation of 275.3 billion shillings, money to be spent in funding basic and higher education. The Ministry of Interior will get an allocation of 28.2 billion shillings.
Parliament should consider it.
3 months ago, the Parliament passed another motion authorizing the government to spend a consolidated fund totaling to 600 billion Kenyan shillings. This comes as the Parliament is also expected to debate the controversial 2023 and 2024 financial year budget on Thursday. Shadrach Kareria, Lookuptv.
Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Amolo Odinga has hinted at the return of the anti-government demonstrations over dissatisfaction with the Finance Bill 2023 set to be tabled in Parliament today. Odinga took a swipe at President William Ruto's administration over the unbearable economic situation in the country.
As the government continues to combat insecurity in the North Rift, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, while on a visit in Turkana, noted that 100 million Kenya shillings has been released to aid in construction of schools vandalized by bandits and armed criminals. Kindiki further added that the government will next week establish and commission 4 new administrative units in Turkana County to facilitate delivery of services.
Itatoa pesa. Serikali ya Kenya itatoa pesa ya kujenga upya. Wakati viongozi wenu wameketi na Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi sikuwa katika mkutano, lakini walinieleza vile waliafikiana, kwa sababu siku hiyo nilikuwa msituni huko napambana na wakora. Lakini yale yaliafikianwa ni kwamba viongozi wenu waketi na watuambie ni shule ngapi hapa Turkana ambazo zilifungwa kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa usalama, na serikali itapeana shilingi milioni 100 ya kujenga upya shule hizo. Tutatumia wanajeshi wetu na vijana wetu wa huduma ya taifa.
During his visit, the CES held a security briefing with Turkana County Security and Intelligence Committee, where he lauded officers in the front lines in the ongoing Maliza Uhalifu joint operation. Meanwhile, Kilgoris Member of Parliament Julius Sunkuli has asked the CES to intervene in clashes that have erupted within Transmara and bring calm to the region.
Minister, do send a permanent group of GSU and RDU officers to the site, and the community and ourselves are prepared to give land and housing to those officers so that they can deal with the situation adequately.
As President William Ruto presided over the National Prayer Breakfast, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga met grassroots leaders from Kisii County ahead of the tabling of the finance bill in the National Assembly. Odinga indicated that the opposition will soon embark on the anti-government demonstrations as President William Ruto has continuously ignored their concerns.
Kesho wataweka hiyo finance bill kwa bunge. Ijumaa ambayo Alhamisi ambayo inakuja watasoma bajeti. Okay? Baada ya kusoma bajeti wataleta hiyo finance bill. Wakileta hiyo finance bill na hii tutapiga parapanda.
In a veiled attack at President William Ruto, Odinga blasted the head of state over promises his administration has failed to fulfill as the cost of living continues to be unbearable.
Tena sasa wanaleta mpango mpya ya pesa, finance bill, ambayo sasa wameongeza. Wacha hiyo mambo suri ya manyumba hiyo. Kuna mingi ambazo zimeongezwa ndani ya hiyo bajeti, ambayo ikitekelezwa hali ya maisha itakuwa mbaya zaidi kwa Wakenya. Ndio sababu tumesema hii serikali ilisema ni mahustlers. Hustlers. Mama mboga. Boda boda. Jua kali. Hiyo lugha ilienda wapi sasa?
The former Prime Minister also slammed Dr. Ruto for the introduction of the finance bill, insisting that if passed by Parliament, the prices of common commodities will skyrocket with no plan to cushion Kenyans.
Hali ya uchumi ni mbaya. Lakini hata kama ni mbaya, serikali iliyo huru hali ilikuwa na hivyo. Na walikuwa wanatoa ushuru kutoka kwa wananchi na wanalipa. Walikuwa wanalipa. Hata walikuwa wameweka ile subsidy ambayo ilikuwa inaweka gharama ya maisha inakuwa chini. Bei ya mafuta ilikuwa iko chini. Hata bei ya unga ilikuwa iko chini. Jamaa alisema ati akichukua tu Biblia namna hii, bei ya unga itarudi chini kutoka 200 hadi 70. Sasa bei ya unga iko wapi?
Well, do apologize for the slight mistake in that story, but it's a good thing we've run the good story then. Let's clear like this. The call for reconciliation, forgiveness and national cohesion dominated this year's prayer breakfast as President William Ruto led top government officials and other dignitaries in prayers and supplication for the country amid increasing political differences between the government and the opposition, especially on the controversial Finance Bill 2023 and the housing levy. Now, leaders who spoke underscored the need for a united front in addressing issues of national importance. And as a reporter who returned in our files, the prayers were not devoid of politics as government threw veiled jabs at the opposition. Let's take a look.
A soothing music that opened this year's National Prayer Breakfast in Nairobi. President Ruto, in company of his Deputy Rigathi Gachagua and Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and other top government leaders, arrived for this special occasion. For the business of the day, those who were tasked with the responsibility of praying for the country presented the nation before God as the country continues to face a myriad of challenges.
Heavenly Father, we pray that in every part of this country, we exercise unity, we love each other, take care of every soul that you have created.
This year's prayer breakfast came at a time where the country is divided politically, with sharp differences emerging on key issues, including the now controversial Finance Bill 2023 and the housing levy that saw top brass leaders of Azimio skip today's event. President Ruto leading other speakers in calling for reconciliation and cohesion as he seeks a united front in addressing issues bedeviling the nation.
Democracy is a defined political gift which enables us to compete vigorously, as we always do, but also empowers us to reconcile our aspirations and recognize the fundamental unity of our truest aspirations in a single vision for a free, strong, prosperous, united, and secure nation.
Out to one another in forgiveness, facing those we perceive to be our enemies, willing to put aside what we think of as our positions, laying down as he did the grandeur of our estate, and facing those we utterly dislike for the sake of our people, for the sake of our communities, for the sake of our nations, for the sake of our world.
Even as the country sought the supreme power in dealing with emerging challenges, politics did not escape today's event. Kenya Kwanza leaders used the occasion to throw jabs at the opposition for their stand on various issues.
Our last election, the opposition leader became the government candidate. And the sitting president of the government became the opposition candidate. And as things should be, the opposition candidate, who was the then sitting deputy president, won the election, and the sitting president then handed over power to his deputy and went ahead to become the leader of the opposition party.
I want to plead and persuade all leaders also to reconcile with the truth. The truth of the matter is that William Ruto is the President of the Republic of Kenya. Let everybody also, as we reconcile with God and with men, start by reconciling with the truth.
As they congregate in one accord to pray for the nation during these challenging economic times, many Kenyans will hope their prayers are answered so that we can have a unified and prosperous country. Henry Tende, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
So that particular story essentially then marks the end of our news this morning. But if you look at what public participation is in the country, and I'm going to give you the 3 definitions so that then it informs the next part of our conversation. You can categorize it into 3 areas where you have citizen power, where citizens take control, that is essentially the delegated power, and they'll partner with the relevant authorities and bodies, and then they give their views on a document or on a subject in the country. Then number 2, you have tokenism, where it's essentially pure consultation, informing, and placation, where I would expect that our members of parliament are going to give us the truth and inform us on what the reality is, and whatever they speak is the language that is represented in any document or an issue. Then the last one is non-participation, where essentially you're going to go into therapy and manipulation, where essentially you're saying we've participated by not participating at all. Good. When you look at the Finance Bill 2023, the questions that are coming out right now is that maybe in a proper way, the public didn't get to participate in these issues fully. Because then the question is, why are we getting the warnings from within government on how members of parliament are supposed to behave in a document that you like to think you and I represented our views on? This morning then, let's get into that particular conversation. Our set is already full. I'll be introducing the gentlemen who are joining us shortly then for that particular conversation. Stick around because again, all eyes are on the National House today, because today that particular document gets tabled. Where are we in as regards these issues online on Lookuptv across all the social media platforms? I am at Kiage Simba. See you on the other side of the studio shortly.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars because from June 26 to July 1st, 2023, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Mungai TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
Usiwahi cheza na mboga yangu. Na unafuata nani? Usikuone ukinifuata. Nimekwambia una shares kwa hii kuku.
You got the roof, man. Hebu kwanza rudi ndani ufresh hiyo chono, make sure umespray.
Juli, kwani wewe? Hii tumbo yako mimi najua inaweza ingiza kila kitu. Hata chuma nikishiaga nikupea, hata plastic najua utakula. Kwani leo kunaendaje? Kuna kitu sielewi.
Kabisa Mluya. Yaani umeamua kulala uchi?
Sasa kama hakuna ile nguo inanitosha unataka nifanye aje?
Because you are fat.
Sasa ukiongelea mimi ati fat, na Julie tutasemaje?
Kuja.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine. Itakuwaje? Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Maliki?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
A man, a symbol of strength, power, and leadership.
What does it take for a man to meet society expectations of provision and leadership?
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, lazima ukija kuoa lazima uwe ni provider. Wewe ndio unatoa kila kitu.
In our weekly episode of Born a Man.
Kusurvive kwa shule ilikuwa ni noma. Yeah, getting something to eat, bado especially in my last 2 years ilikuwa ngumu sana.
Moving from State House Road to Kahawa Ndani, where now they came back to be hosted.
We embark on telling stories of what it takes to become a man in today's society, like it has never been told before.
I know men, we are cowards. because tunaambiwa watu ati kufa kimwanaume, that's nonsense.
This is the life of a man.
Two issues today. We're talking about the Finance Bill 2023, definitely. But then we're looking back to what happened yesterday. It was the National Prayer Day. All right? And the theme was about God and man and peace. But you see exactly what transpired. But then generally then you would say that every other leader got an opportunity to speak, whether you're within government, definitely, because the opposition essentially boycotted the entire sitting. They were dropping up support for what is leading to be President William Ruto's first budget, the controversial Finance Bill 2023. And just before we went on a break, if you did miss that, by the way, I was talking about public participation. What is unique about this particular bill is that for the very first time, of course, we've seen demonstrations on taxation and the plans for the government, but for now, for the very first time, that within a public participation process, we've seen civil service unions go to the street to demonstrate about a document. For the very first time now, we've seen how vehemently the opposition is saying no to this document, and also how vehemently the government is coming in to protect or drum up support for this particular document, to the point that members of parliament within the majority party, that is UDA, have been told, we are watching, you dare not support it, we're going to punish you within the party mechanisms. So today, as we wait for parliament then to go in and discuss this particular document, the question is going to be, where is the country? And while we listened to? That is the question. Good. Joining me this morning, I do have Prof. Fred Ogola. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you around.
Yes,
since you're next to me, I can shake your hand.
Yes.
All right, over the other side, we do have Eric Mungai. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well.
Yeah.
Good morning to the viewers.
Happy to have you around.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Simba.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, there's a lot that we're going to look at. There's just a lot of issues that we're going to look into. We're going to pick notes from the speeches that were done yesterday from the president, the DP, and all the top leaders who have spoken. But then I would like us to look back at the entire event yesterday. Prof, it was on reconciliation, peace, God and man. What was it about peace, God and man?
Yeah, you see, when you have politicians leading a prayer day,
yes,
then actually it is a political day. Some, like Eric says, that it was actually a tax day because that was what took prominent. By the way, let me just put context into this, because we have to put text into context.
Yes.
This National Prayer Day was not supposed to be yesterday. It was supposed to be earlier, but the president requested for it to be postponed. So it's a coincidence. It is coming just a day before Parliament goes to debate about the tax bill. So unfortunately for the president, it was now like it was taking more of a tax discussion rather than more of a prayer. But if you want to have a real prayer day, let it be led by a bishop, let it be led by the Pope, let it be led by religious leaders. If you have politicians leading a prayer day, then it only becomes political. I remember there's a time there was a joke whereby a politician died, then he left a wish saying, I don't want politics to be discussed in my funeral. Then, of course, I stood up and said, my brother, you live by the politics. You died as a politician. Let us politic, because this is the only way we can give you a rightful send-off.
That's it.
So if at all we are having a politicians leading a political prayer and they tell us we should focus on God, it doesn't happen. Remember that if you just count the number of words where tax was mentioned, Raila was mentioned, it was more time they mentioned the name of Jesus Christ or God for that matter. I don't know how many verses were quoted. Were more verses quoted than the Constitution and quoting of the taxes and all the billions of shillings they need to spend and the rest. So it was just supposed to be what it is. And is it bad to have a national prayer day in the country? No. But the thing is, did you achieve reconciliation? And who are you reconciling with the other? If it's reconciling personally you with God, maybe everybody knows what happened to them. But if it's reconciling the nation, we know what needs to reconcile. Since we had our election, the opposition has maintained the elections were rigged, and Raila Odinga has never called the president His Excellency, Mr. President. I'm sure if this is what could be achieved yesterday, by them being present, the Raila Odinga issued a statement by saying it's hypocrisy. This is not going to be something can attend. If he came, and I said it before, that Raila still will have to legitimize William Ruto. And that's why you see, if you look at all the narrative about Kenya Kwanza, is about we won the election, we won the election, we are elected. If you are elected, you don't have to remind us. I'm a father. My son, I don't have to tell him I'm your son. I don't have to tell my son I'm your father. I don't have to tell my wife I am your husband. The fact that I say it, there's more questions about that than anything else. So I'm trying to say, the prayer meeting, reconciling man and God, that day, man cannot reconcile with another man, because even God says that you must love your God and also love your neighbor as you love yourself, that thing of love. So if the two leaders were to come together, reconcile with each other, God was going to be there, and then for there we can reconcile man and also women and God, because Azimio had a women candidate, so we can't forget about the women also. And of course in Kenya Kwanza there is the Excellency the President with the First Lady, and of course there's another one for Gachaga, I don't know that called Second Lady, or I don't have the language, but I'm trying to say reconciling man and God was supposed to be men coming together, and the Bible says when man and woman are together, you know, people think that being man and woman are together means that we are sitting here together with you. It means if we have a clarity of mind, we bring our mind together as a nation. And if Kenyans are united to a one direction, we are passing this tax bill is good for us, that's unity. We need housing in Kenya, that is unity. These are our priorities. People need to have food on the table. Cost of living is high, let us reduce taxes. This is a direction. That's when I say when a man, two people come together, God is inside. Coming together means that those four and against the budget should come together, then God will be in the budget. But if we are fighting in different direction, God is not where war is. God has to come inside these tax bills, inside this budget, inside parliament, inside this prayer day, then we can grow together.
Pretty much. I'll be coming back to you on what would have expected the president to say, because indeed he spoke on a variety of issues, but you could hear he was sort of speaking to the leaders within Kenya Kwanza and the opposition, sort of telling them, well, let's come together. Let's put politics aside so we can build this country. Mr. Mungai, I asked you why you are not at the prayer day. I don't know why. Maybe you give us a reason this morning. Why were you not there?
First is to welcome the viewer. You know, this is the only show where we are not afraid to speak the truth. That's it. Specifically truth to power, and also truth to opposition. That's it. Because that is also equally very important. Secondly is the issue of the prayer day, which the headlines today have captured more in the sense of it was more of a tax day than a prayer day. Yes. But you know, biblically speaking, what is due to Caesar must be given to Caesar. And the context within which and the context within which what is due to Caesar must be given to him is in a biblical context. So those two things are not exclusive. They go hand in hand. What belongs to one must be given to the other. Yes. And secondly is, as Prof says, it was just a coincidence because the prayer day was postponed, so it was a coincidence that it came a day prior to the debate in the House. But what I think is it was a good It was a good prayer day.
But came timely.
It was timely, yes. It was very timely for him.
Yes, yes.
I was a bit disappointed because the opposition did not show up to pray together with the rest of the leaders in the country for one reason.
Was that the failure then of putting the day together?
Putting what together?
The National Prayer Day. If you can't pull the opposition to come pray for the country.
If I invite you for a feast and you decline to show up, you know, when I invite you for a feast, you can decide whether you want to show up or you don't want to show up. But I have done the onerous gesture of inviting you to the feast. But if you have reasons, and perhaps even valid reasons, why you do not want to show up, then you know I cannot go ahead and force you to show up in my feast.
Who is your guest in that feast?
You see, a national prayer breakfast, it's a breakfast for the country to come together, for all parties to come together. And because we are praying to a common God. It is not that...
to what end? Not to forgive us our sins, to bring the country together, isn't it?
Yes, remember the theme of the prayer day yesterday was national reconciliation. Okay?
Yes.
Now, for us to reconcile, it means they must have grievances that might have led us apart, or circumstances that might have led us, you know, to drift apart. So reconciliation then therefore means that it is a time for us, you know, we don't necessarily have to agree. We don't necessarily have to agree. But you know, as Prof says, where 2 or 3 are gathered, even God is there in their midst. And even the same Bible, it sets a process whereby you ought to reconcile with your neighbor. Now, if your neighbor does not want reconciliation, and perhaps for your own good reasons you want to hold us ransom, we cannot stop with us wanting to pray. We must continue and pray, and even pray for you that God might mellow your heart so that you stop hardening your heart and come so that we can have a discussion together.
Is it a blanket prayer if you're not going to set conditions that are going to pull the people that you want to pray with for the country to come join you at a party?
But you know...
Does it make sense, Mr. Mungai, if you're praying for reconciliation, but there are people within your party that are saying, we don't want to be there. We are not happy. We don't want to be with you. Does it make sense for that party? It's like saying, end your party in January. People are not going to attend.
No, you know, always, even in where we work, we attend end-year parties, and it's not like sometimes we like the HR or we like the CEO, but the fact is, there is a common agenda that brings us together, and that common...
That actually is a serious. We call it a false analogy. Because in your place of work, attending end-year party is like a requirement, and your boss, you see, for example, the government does not employ Raila Odinga, does not employ Azimio, so they are free to decide what they want.
Yes. And that's precisely what I say.
And in fact, let me tell you what. If your aim was reconciliation, to organize a whole prayer day, this was paid by the state. It costs some money. Then you don't achieve reconciliation, but you just bash opposition. How do you spend national cake, national money, national funds to get a forum to bash opposition, yet this prayer breakfast was meant to unite the country, was meant to reconcile? If you discover reconciliation once, cancel it. Yes. For example, if you are supposed to go out for a date, and then as you prepare for go to date, the woman does not turn up, do you still continue and order meals for 2 people and eat even on behalf of the person you're supposed to have a date with?
Prof, yes. Let me just interject shortly. Ragalo, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How are you? Sorry, there's a bit of traffic here. But my friend Eric is really annoying. Yes. He said this is a place of saying the truth. Yes. He's really annoying because when actually the Ruto side, I rarely say the government side because they are not the government. The government is Azimio government.
Let us be honest.
They just stole election. So the reality has to be that it's not their government. They're just sitting in.
For the sake of making the point.
Who is supposed to invite the other? It is Raila who is supposed to invite Ruto, not Ruto inviting Raila. In seniority,
yes.
Are you supposed to invite your father for prayers, or your father is supposed to invite you? What I'm trying to say basically is very simple.
Yes.
Is that is that there's nothing reconciliation going to happen. We had a road to reconciliation. They started playing games, and we pulled out of that talk.
Yes.
So which reconciliation are we talking about? So what are we going to reconcile while eating samosa? The reconciliation was supposed to be a parliamentary group meeting that was supposed to take care of issues that were put on the table. The issues have not been taken care of. The cost of living that we are talking about was supposed to be handled on the table. Okay? They are lying to people that people are homeless. Brother, there's a difference between homelessness and houselessness.
No, you're going off topic.
I'm not going off topic. I'm just telling them the reconciliation. You need to reconcile yourself with the people.
Yes.
So reconciliation, even when you're lying to them that they need a home. Nobody does not have a home. America is where you can get homelessness. Somebody living in the street has left even their family. What is a home? There is no one in Kenya without a home. They're telling, oh, we are going to make you a home. So you're going to give me a family? The way you want to put my money into a circus? You want to give me a circus of another family to have a home? The problem in Kenya is houselessness, not homelessness.
Yes.
So here, they are lying. They are not reconciling the fact that they are lying to Kenyans. They are lying to Kenyans that they are going to get jobs. So when you are saying you are reconciling the country, what are you reconciling? You need to reconcile yourself from the truth to what lies you're telling to Kenyans.
Do you think by the opposition failing to attend that national
we cannot attend something of lies and truths, lies. Yes. Why are you going to attend something?
You are invited to pray for the country.
To pray for which country?
Yes.
Which country?
Yes.
Which country are you praying for? What is the problem in the country? The problem in the country is the people in the government. That's why I said I can't call them government.
Yes.
The people in the government lying to Kenya. So you're going to pray for the country so that lies end?
So the theme was peace, God, and man. So that God can even intervene.
Who is God?
So that the bipartisan talks can
Who is God?
Simba, just a minute.
Mungu,
just a minute.
Let me answer this.
Mungu
Mungu ni nani? Mungu ni roho kamili kabisa. Muumba mbingu na dunia na baba yetu mwema. Mungu ni roho kamili na kabisa. What is kamili? So when you want to lie to people, you are not full. You are the temple of God. So you are lying whereas you are supposed to call the fullness of God. So stop these stories. Oh, we are praying. You are praying what?
Prof.
Stop praying. Let's go to Shakahola first of all. Look for those people who are dead. Get to know their families. Even those people need closure.
Yes, Prof. Just before you come in, I just want Mungai to get on it.
I just want to add that I'm just saying something. In John 14, chapters verse 6.
Yes.
I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one can go to the Father except through me. And then the Bible says, before you put your offer on the altar, first reconcile with a brother.
Yes.
We are in Safari Park, and there's a brother who says, this is hypocrisy, I can't even come. Then instead of talking to him nicely, you bash him. I'm sure that bashing, there's nowhere where God says, anyone who refuses to come to pray with you, bash them, then pray. No. I think that is wrong. Let us be honest. When it comes to religion, let us be religious.
Yes.
But politics, another story. If you bash him in a funeral, it's a place for bashing. Bash. If you organize a rally in Nyayo, bash. But you can stand in front of an altar, then bash, while the Bible is clear. Before you put your offer on the table, reconcile with your brother. Because it's useless to put your offer on the table when you are not in peace with a brother or a sister.
Mr. Mungai, is that what it is? And that's the question that we're asking this morning, that was it a failure for you to go and pray when your brother is essentially looking at you as this enemy that I've got in front of me?
You know, the level of equivocacy from these two gentlemen is dumbfounding. One, Eric says that we do not have a legitimate government.
Yes.
Then you go ahead and ask him, why didn't they attend the prayer breakfast as opposition? He goes ahead to explain why they did not attend the prayer breakfast as opposition, okay? Yet at the same time, he's saying there is no legitimate government, but accepting that him and his team are members of the opposition. That is one point. Number two, Prof has quoted a very good Bible verse. But what Prof has not told us is that there is a procedure, biblical procedure, to reconciling with your neighbor. Okay? The Bible gives a procedure where you even send people to go and speak to your brother. It tells you that if your brother does not speak, who else are you supposed to send? Yes. And if you look at the Kenya Kwanza government, the legitimate government, we have been open enough, we have been candid enough to accept that let us have a national conversation. And therefore, when we come to bipartisan talk, we must not mix the bipartisan talk with the prayer breakfast. Those are two distinct, they are not mutual, okay? Because the bipartisan process...
What are they supposed to achieve, Mr. Mungai? What are the bipartisan talks supposed to achieve?
Wait first. Yes. The bipartisan talks is a political process, okay? That intends to lead to reconciliation.
That's it.
Okay?
That's it.
The prayer breakfast is a place where we come together nationally to pray on behalf of our country, because there is nothing wrong with praying to God and say, look, we are not agreeing with my brother, and we pray to God that you give us wisdom to know how to conclude and take on these talks so that we come to a mutual agreement for the sake of the country. And I want you to realize those two processes are very different. When it comes to prayer, I mean, we could go to the same church even though we are enemies and pray to the same God and pray for God to give us wisdom to be able to sit in a table and have the wisdom to discuss issues that affect the country. And God will give us wisdom. So I do not want us to conjoin the bipartisan process with the prayer breakfast that happened yesterday. Lastly, you know, history is also equally important when it comes to matters religion. And we know for a fact, in fact, sometimes I say when you dig a hole, don't dig a big one. You remember last national prayer breakfast? You remember the previous national prayer breakfast? The man on the receiving end then was the deputy president, who is now the current president. And they were not seeing eye to eye. And you remember in that national prayer breakfast, even though he was vexed based on what the two brothers had done to him, he actually showed up for the sake of the country, regardless of the fact that the two brothers had really mistreated him as deputy president. And therefore, it is the same level of gesture and goodwill, because Raila in himself is an institution. He would have been given a platform and a podium to also express himself on behalf of his followers, and most importantly, on behalf of the country, and submit that to an almighty being whom we are all submitted to. So I think it lacked honesty that they were not, that they did not show up. But regardless, you have a discretion when you are invited to a prayer breakfast on whether to attend or not. Yes.
Good. I'll come back to you on that. Prof, Eric, I also want to get ready, because the direct question to you as well on what is the role of the organization then in bringing the country together, because the critiques now are saying, well, even when you've been invited
to the table to pray for the country, why are you looking at the person who's invited you as opposed to looking at the country in general? And those were the words, by the way, of one Sabina Chege. I'm going to come back to that. Prof, do you agree that indeed it is an opposition problem as opposed to the government problem?
Yeah, first of all, let me tell you one thing is that, Eric, you are very mistaken when you say that we are univocal. I'll tell Ragalo that as a scholar, and also as someone who is the leader of Operation Linda Ugatuzi, we are Solomonic. In the sense that the truth is not in the two extreme. Eric for sure is extreme, and Ragalo is extreme. So we call them Rutonomics, Railanomics. We are Solomonic. So Solomonic in the sense that, let us be honest, we have a government in place. In fact, if there was no government in place, even we can't be here. Let's be honest. The government facilitates our security, ensured you can work. You talk about traffic. Remember 2007, when there was a bit of a feeling there's no government, even movement was impossible. So let's be honest that things are working. You can travel out of the country, you can fly out. So there's a government in place. That is true. Whether you like that government, that's another story, but there's a government in place. How they got there, you can discuss until the end, until the sun goes down. That's another story. There is a government in place that accepts it. Then secondly, Eric, what I want to put here very clearly is that we cannot say it's a role of opposition or the role of government. Everybody has to play their role, and it depends on people. Who knows Raila's heart and Ruto's heart? They know more than, and we cannot know what is in human being's heart. Whether Raila is doing that genuinely or not, whether Ruto invited him genuinely or not, when I've invited you for dinner in my house, then you saw my tweet when I say, Simba is just a witchcraft, and whatever. How do you feel? Remember, Raila attended Jambini burial, and he was being bashed live by Gachagua. He told him some very dirty things. He was being bashed by the president himself. They were in one podium. Look at that clip. It was serious bashing to opposition, speaker after speaker. But Raila still preached peace, talked about the issue of Mau, and said, let's just speak the truth. He talked about the same truth there. Then Gachagua went and said, come to the little truth. Then after that, told him lies 1 to 10. Yes. You understand? Yes. So what you're trying to talk about is that Raila made an effort of being there. He was bashed. So I wouldn't say he's opposition, but the last treatment in Jambini might have been a reason to say, why am I attending? If I come, it will be about me. Whether Raila attended Safari Park prayer meeting or not, it was going to be about Raila. That meeting was more about Raila than Jesus Christ or God. And if you think to analyze, I'm an economist, I counted. Raila was mentioned 129 times. Jesus was mentioned 19 times. Was it a prayer meeting or bashing Raila? It is what it is, my brother. Facts are stubborn. Numbers don't lie.
We're going to come back and continue this conversation because it just starts here. Once we come back, Eric responds.
Mizizi Africa Homes is Kenya's fastest growing property development company. We offer home and investment solutions that are cost-effective and of the highest quality. If you are an aspiring homeowner, look no further than Mizizi Africa Homes for the best competitive rates in town. Introducing our new project at Bustani ya Mizizi in Malindi, a prime property with close proximity to Malindi Town, Sandy Beach, international hotels and airport, private, public schools and hospitals, commercial area and police stations, fertile land, well drained with a perimeter fence all round, sufficient borehole and county water, electricity and man-made water harvesting dams for farming and fishing. Retire mapema bila pressure and grab yours today. An 8 acre at only 99K with ready title deeds. For installment payment, deposit 50%, balance in 6 months installment. Financing option available. Bustani ya Mizizi in Malindi. Mapema ndio best. For more information, contact us on 020-790-2215 or WhatsApp us on 0742-112-215, www.miziziafricahomes.com and email info@miziziafricahomes.com. Our offices are at Westlands, Watamu Court, Room 3, opposite Sarit Center. Mizizi Africa Homes, together building a solid foundation.
In a world where every voice matters, where women and children need our unwavering support, Muthingi TV's Muthoni Nyarari stands out, and it's for this reason that she has been nominated for the AfriGlow Women Choice Awards 2023 as the presenter of the year. Your voice matters. Your support counts. To vote for Muthoni Nyarari, dial *483 *733 *55 1212 #. Together, let's amplify our voices and bring attention to the issues that matters the most.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
The question being then, if we are from a national prayer day, what should have been the setup? Because that looks like the point of contention, even before we look at how the Finance Bill 2023 again took center stage on those conversations. Now, we do have Mr. Ragalo now, who's been put a task to explain then that you were invited. You were told, come, let's pray for the country. That at any particular point, the opposition would have said, this is not about us and our political ambitions and the little differences that we may have within the people in government. Let's go pray for this country. But you did not. Let me pick the words of one Sabina Kiage, who said, we can't stand and watch the country burn. At one point, we have to think beyond ourselves. And that's the point that Mr. Mungai is giving you, that look here, you were given the olive branch. Come, let's pray for Kenya. But then you said, no, we're not coming.
Thank you, brother. Sabina is a funny lady. Actually, she's the one who can make the country burn. Because if you have people who can sell their heart to the devil, then they are the devil incarnate. What I mean is, when you sit here, Sabina is here telling you, this is the best president that Kenya has never had. Oh, vote this guy. Oh, he's been there for us. Oh, he was imprisoned and stayed in for 9 years. That was Sabina. Then immediately, Sabina gets a very big seat, deputy whip, I think. Then, after some time, Sabina now wants to kill Jubilee. And she's on the other side, demonizing the other side. The question is, who can make a country burn? A hypocrite person, even in the Bible, is cursed. Even the prayer of a hypocrite is cursed.
That's what she wanted you not to look at yesterday.
No.
She wanted you not to look at that yesterday.
To look at hypocrisy.
She wanted you to look at the country yesterday,
No,
Mr. Ragalo.
look at the country. She should look at the country herself.
Sort of separate.
What was her powers and what are her powers in parliament?
Yes.
Who is she? She is not just Sabina Kiage.
She said, put it aside.
No,
that's what she said. Put it aside.
What I'm trying to tell you, she's not Sabina Kiage.
Yes.
She is the whip. She has powers to govern in this nation. Was she supposed to go the other side? Could she manage Kenya when she's there with the powers? One, she has security, higher salary than MPs because she's a whip. She has a chase car and many other things that accompany you being a whip, even if it's a whip of an opposition. So, she had the powers in parliament. She sold her soul. So who can make a country burn? A person who does not go to pray or a person who uses hypocrisy to lie to Kenyans? See, we are saying tuambiane ukweli, na ndio hiyo ukweli. So Sabina can burn the country because she's a hypocrite.
Yes.
She is lying to Kenyans, telling Kenyans, oh, let's look at the country. Oh, the country needs us all. But her, what has she done to the country? She lied to the country after eating the Bible of being a whip. She used the Bible and adulterated the Bible herself.
Yes.
And gone the other side. And she forgot what the Bible says. So when you tell me about Sabina, you're telling me about a liar, a hypocrite, a cheater, and a woman without integrity. And that is what I call her. If she needs to know the truth, she should take with the Bible that she swore on. and know what is the work of a whip. She was not supposed to go on the other side. She was supposed to do the whipping work and ensure the government works.
Mr. Mungai.
Because in the parliament, it is a national government. In the parliament, it is parliamentary parliament. So when she went there, she joined what? Which government? Which we are not.
Mr. Mungai, here's two issues I want you to clarify. Two issues I want you to clarify. Sabina Chege essentially was presented to you yesterday as the voice of reason.
Imagine.
Is it about imagine?
Imagine. A hypocrite.
Mr. Ragalo, I'm not taking your side. I'm trying to make a point. Here's the thing. She was presented to you as the voice of reason. And when she stood up to speak, she spoke as a single Kenyan, a mwananchi. In fact, she said, let's put our political ambitions aside. Speak as Kenyans, what we want. Can we separate politics from peace? Which essentially, again, then takes me to my next question, Mr. Mungai, that I want you to respond to. Do you indeed agree that we are a heavily political economy? That everything that we do in one way or the other is essentially presented to you by a politician, goes to the National House, and is talked about by politicians before it becomes even a draft policy. Case in point, whatever it is that we're talking about here, the finance bill, which has been heavily drafted by members of parliament. That indeed, if you're going to talk about peace, then present peace first from the political side. Then come and say, good, let's pray for the country, because we do understand where we ail. It is political peace that we're talking about. Mr. Mungai.
First things first.
Yeah.
One, I'm at sea. I'm kind of perplexed by the utterances made by my brother. In fact, what even confuses more now is the definition of a devil's incarnate. History, I keep on saying history is important. A few months ago, preceding the August elections, Sabina Chege was a darling of Azimio. In fact, I remember there's a time either she went to Ugenya or Siaya. She was in one of those ODM zones. And I remember even as the politicians were speaking, they were saying, this is our daughter. And in case you don't have someone around here,
I don't remember those conversations.
We are good people. That's why I'm reminding you. We are good people. And I remember that time, Sabina Chege was a darling of Azimio. A few months down the line, she's now being described by my good friend Eric as a devil's incarnate. Now, is the Rubicon crossing over to Kenya Kwanza government? Is that where you cross the line to join from heaven to hell, so that you and the devil are in parallel? Is that the line? Is that to say that so long as you're in this place, we accept you that you're in heaven, and when you cross this line, then we accept that you have a semblance to the evil one. Now that's one point. Yes. Secondly, my brother Professor has said that we are extremists, myself and my friend Eric. And he's conferred upon himself the term Solomonic. But Solomonic is conferred to you by those that, like when you become a professor, there is a process to which is undisputed that you are a professor like he is, and that we cannot question. But Solomonic is a preserve of the people that you are with, and they are able to deduce the fact that there is some level within which we accept. And therefore, I would want us to, my friend and Eric, to enter that fold of Solomonic so that we are not excluded from that particular point. Secondly, and lastly, is the issue of political peace. I'm again confused.
Yes.
What I love about this country, and it must not be taken away from us, is that we have the right to disagree. Okay? I have a right to hold an opinion which might be contrary to yours. And that's fine. That's okay. But it must not be construed that we must always be in agreement for there to be political peace. There must be room for divergent opinion.
Yes.
And there must be room for a conversation of, I support the finance bill, And equally, another person has the right to say, I do not support the finance bill for one or two reasons.
But then the way our country is positioned, Mr. Mungai, that without political peace, then you essentially will not have the rest of the peace that you're looking for.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You need to define what is political peace. Political peace, in my estimation, is an environment where we can present our views without acrimony, without us fighting, but with acceptance, because we must accept we're in a democracy, that the majority will have their way and the minority will be allowed to have their say.
And would like therefore to think that even the leader of the country knows very well that he has to create that environment where these views and whatever it is you're talking about is going to be presented.
Absolutely, but it is not always that we will agree with him always, or we will disagree with him always. What I'm just trying to say is there will be instances where we will even disagree with the opposition leader. That does not mean that we don't like him or we hold ill will towards him. Sometimes it is divergence of opinion, which in a democracy is acceptable. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the wire, a vote must be taken. And therefore in that vote, if we do not have consensus, then we must agree that the majority must prevail. And therefore we must ask ourselves, when the majority prevails, and when I say majority, I do not necessarily mean Kenya Kwanza. I mean in parliament, there is any member can dissent and say, look, I am not supporting this for this reason. Like in Kiambu County, we have a member of parliament who's clearly stated that they do not support the finance bill based on the fact that her constituents do not agree with it.
And you know what your party leadership has said about it, isn't it?
No, but you see, the thing is, you know, in the previous regimes, if you had a contrary opinion, you know what used to happen to you. But in this case, the lady is saying, look, I do not agree with you. As much as we would like her to agree with us, we must also accept that when it comes down to it, she might not vote with us. Are there consequences?
Yes.
Are there consequences? Yes, there are consequences.
Are there the right consequences within the conversation of political peace?
No, within the confines of the party's bylaws and party's constitution, there is a consequence.
Pretty much, but it's the parties that give us governments, Mr. Mungai.
Absolutely.
Isn't it not?
So if you are taking a contrary, just you see, the same way Sabina has more or less defected, you can hear there is a consequence, either in terms of word or in terms of legal action.
Pretty much, they pushed her off, isn't it?
Yes. Pretty much, there must be consequence when you enter in parliament through a party, okay? That party holds a particular view of things. That's why you join a political party. If you disagree with my political, you remember even Azimio were chasing away Jalango, because they said, if you do not support what we are doing, then resign, go to Kenya Kwanza, let there be a by-election, then you can contest.
But I'll be coming back to you, because then it looks as if you're agreeing then with us that indeed, when it comes to political peace, there must be a solution.
Yes, but I'm saying, but what I am avoiding is, we must not say for there to be political peace, we must always agree. That is my divergent point.
By the way, there's a direct question to you on that. Well, and it's a good thing that when we're here, we sort of spoke about it. Prof, I want you to jump in. I'm going to put it to you. I'm just going to pull my phone, then I read it to you directly. There's a direct question to you on that. It's only that we didn't get time to go through that. Prof, just before, I've seen you take a lot of notes on exactly what Mr. Mungai has been saying, but I want you to tie your response to this. Do you think that the priority for the president, before presenting prayer, he would have decided to postpone it? I mean, it was within his powers. It was actually postponed. He would have decided to postpone it and say, I know in this country, there's this tradition. Sometimes we meet and we pray for this country. But as far as I'm concerned, we have a situation in this country that is threatening peace within the country. I mean, Mr. Mungai, you do know very well that there have been conversations from within the opposition talking about, let's go into secession now, because we feel like we are not included in the political discourse in this country. If he was well aware that this is exactly what it is, and I'm going to pray for the country, isn't there a solution next door? Join your brothers who are not in line with you and tell them, look here, we have to chart a course for this country. Before then you present a solution, prayer. Do we agree that prayer is going to be a solution?
No. Yeah, actually, Simba, you are very right that before I talk about it, let me just go straight, because I like when people are on studio.
Yes.
They respect our audience and answer the questions which they have been asked,
Exactly.
rather than to do whatever else everyone else in this country does. I'm a lecturer, so when we set exam, if you set your own, you fail. So for those who are trying to answer questions which are not been asked, I'm sure they have failed so many times, but the only thing that there's no one is marking. So if you ask me, I refer you to the Good Samaritan story about a Pharisee who was supposed to go to church and found somebody who has been beaten up by people and was actually almost dying. Then they talk about the Good Samaritan who decided to help this person. And the Bible says, according to Jesus' script, was that the Pharisee, even if he was inside the church, he did zero work. He could have helped somebody who was in trouble, which means that Jesus is sending a gospel. If Jesus is not if Jesus is not the mentor for Kenya Kwanza, let them tell us. But as far as we know, follow me as I follow Christ. And Jesus said, at that time, you better focus on the person who is dying. What is hurting this country? We should focus on that than going to the altar. It is after that that we actually can go to the altar when we are clean. In fact, I'm a Catholic. The first prayer in church is a prayer of reconciliation. I confess. What confession did Kenya Kwanza do before they started praying? You asked to confess. In all of us, even if I approach the sacrament of Eucharist, I'm a son of a catechist, we confess. Before Mass, normally there's a priest waiting for confession before you go for Mass. On the day I did my wedding, I was brought by convoy. It happens every now and then. Then they stop you somewhere. The bride is still in the car. You come out, you confess. Then the bride goes to confess. Then you go celebrate holy matrimony. How would you do that before you confess? So for me, according to me, the issue here was that a country needs to confess. Secessional talk, the worst it can be is that the Prime Minister is just threatening them, because I don't believe that is his words. If at all, it's very unfortunate. In fact, according to me, he should denounce it. They came with Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance. The dream was that we are one Kenya. It's unfortunate for a leader of Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya. You see how many one is there to divide? No, it cannot be. Yes. They should go and denounce that statement and say it's unfortunate. The map which was drawn, maybe Eric can tell us. You know, there are two Erics here. They don't agree much, but they're Eric. So they need to unite the others, the surname now, so that at least they can unite. So I'm saying they should go and denounce. You are one, Eric. Yes. One, that's Eric. Isn't it? You are as Eric. That's that name. Let's be united as Kenyans first. And I think that is critical. And I think that you ask some question, then I think someone didn't ask you, what was the president's priority? The president's priority was supposed to talk about unity and not divide. Remember, the president, after being elected, you move away from being a politician to be a symbol of unity. Let me ask you now, Eric. There's something we call in decision making sleep test. If you close your eyes, then you open and see William Ruto, do you see unity? If you close your eyes, then you look at Raila Odinga, do you see unity? Which means in this country, the only remaining symbol of unity is the national flag and maybe the constitution, isn't it? But we want to see leaders. When you see, if you saw Kenyatta, the senior Kenyatta, the speech he made, the first speech as prime minister, he talked about one Kenya. It was important to be one. And then I want the president to listen to the speech made by former President Uhuru Kenyatta in Nigeria during the inauguration. Yes. He talked about the issue of unity. And the only person I still trust in all these guys is former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Because why he came with Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance, was make Kenya one. Building bridges initiative was between him and Raila Odinga. Secession does not build bridges, it's burning bridges. So let's go back again to build the bridges. It doesn't have to be BBI, and I'm happy that William Ruto said he can stop reggae, and reggae was BBI. BBI was about bridges. It's been burnt now. Let him reconstruct this bridge. Yes. You can build an expressway that passes through on top of so many bridges, which is infrastructure, but your mind and your heart, there are no bridges. They're just valleys, isn't it? Mountains, hills. Let us do that. Let us ensure that happens plain so that it work. Then let me go a little bit to the issue of Sabina Chege. Do you remember that what is interesting is that Sabina Chege would have been a running mate for Raila Odinga. And I'm sure
almost made it.
Yes, when I was in the team where I was being
Yes.
consulted,
Yes.
whom I thought could be the best running mate among all of them, I scored Sabina Chege more than them because I had 8 criteria. One of them, we needed somebody from Mount Kenya. Secondly, we needed somebody from Muranga. Thirdly, we needed a lady. Fourthly, we needed someone who looks hustlerish, youthish, isn't it? Someone, also some beauty, you know, beauty is good. Sabina Chege came to Ugenya. He's right, he was in Ugenya. I
Yes.
come from Ugenya.
Yes.
Even she talked about me because I was still running for member. I was looking for ODM ticket then, but nowadays I'm no longer there. That's why I went to Solomonic.
Yes.
When I saw that Rutanomics were not working. So Sabina Chege was supposed to be in ODM. She was the epitome of the woman, apart from Martha Karua, of an Azimio. In fact, she was more Azimio than Martha Karua. In fact, some of our concerns was like, you can bring Martha Karua to Azimio, and she might be for more Kenya than Azimio, but she has actually proven that Martha Karua was actually a woman of her word. She has stuck with Raila Odinga, even in very difficult time. That's what you need. And let me ask you a question, Simba. Between the betrayer and the betrayed, whom do you blame? Because I've heard Eric saying, when she was in Azimio, she was good. Now she has crossed over, she is bad. But who has betrayed who?
Yes, sir.
I can tell you, Raila Odinga, Azimio, has not betrayed Sabina Chege. It's Sabina Chege that has betrayed them. So they are right to complain. Will you judge the betrayed to be wrong for having betrayed by a betrayer? No. I think those are just facts, and they are stubborn.
Yes, sir.
And then the issue of public participation, very unfortunate. Without impact. So one thing is that there was no trust in this because immediately, let me just go there because he mentioned about it.
Yes.
Immediately the bill was said, Cheragei said no comma, isn't it?
No full
Which means
stop,
no
nothing
trust.
will be passed the way it is.
Avenue,
Yes.
we were told send your things to this email address. How many Kenyans can send email address? In fact, if you attach them, 53 million, which secretariat was set up by Parliament to download 50,000, or they expected only 2 people to send emails.
Yes.
Then resources. I was trying to reach out to Parliament. I wrote a letter, I wrote a memorandum. Do you know what it takes to get a memorandum inside Parliament? There must be an MP coming out of Parliament to receive you, or send a PA to get you from the gate. You can't come and tell security, I want to go and send a letter, you go away. That is a fact. If I'm joking, let's go with you now and see. You cannot access that damn Parliament.
Yes.
Eventually, when I sent my thing by email, I got an appointment to go and present in Hilton Garden Hotel, which was next to the airport. They sent me and told me, we don't want you to come. They never engage Kenyans in an intellectual discussion. And in fact, the only conversation I've had, oh, we have numbers. This bill is bad. Yes, we have numbers. The housing levy is bad. We have numbers. So these numbers, how did you get them? Are they right? I can't tell my wife at home that she can tell me, Fred, we are eating today, we are eating ugali. I say, no, I have the muscles. We eat ugali. I have the muscles. Let's do this. I'm sure there will be a revolt in my house. So Kenya Kwanza never engaged Kenyans in intellectual discussion on this bill. People can talk about, much talked about, but no response. Tell me, when people said our priority is not housing, what was their rebuttal? Did they explain how it's a priority? When we told them, cost of living is very bad, don't do it, what was their intellectual discussion to come back? World Bank has said it's bad. We have numbers. We are not ruled by World Bank, we are a sovereign state. So everything was about, we have numbers. This bill will pass because we have numbers. It won't pass because it's good for Kenyans, it will pass because we have numbers. Theory of numbers. There's a time, I like what he said, but actually is sarcastic. That a majority has their way, isn't it? Minority have their way, isn't it? There's a time when majority are wrong, isn't it? And minority is right. How do we treat that scenario? Because in fact, Jesus was rejected by very many people. The stone that was rejected became the cornerstone. Yes. Eventually now Christianity is the most popular religion in the world. So at the moment, the people telling Ruto, maybe not now. World Bank has said not now. You are too ambitious with your tax policy. Why don't you wait? What we know, we have a government that doesn't listen. They have numbers. How they got them, you can tell me. As far as we know it, Azimio had majority in Parliament, but they denied using numbers again. or using state power that they, Azimio don't have numbers. So when these numbers were wrongly determined in the first sitting of parliament, Kenyans were cooked for the next 5 years. Let's put our hope to God.
Ragalo, here's the thing. I'm just going to read the comments that are coming in. By the way, they have questions as well. I've got the question that you were asked, by the way, when we're doing this session, and we mentioned about what should be the priority for the president. You said, I don't remember what you said, but somebody just reacted to what you said. All right, let me just read quickly exactly what we have, just a couple of them, because we're going to come back and talk about this. Patrick from Kisii is saying, call a spade, not a big spoon. Satan is Satan. Never change the title Satan, and don't use the name of God to benefit some individuals. She responded to what you said about Sabina Shage. This is Patrick. All right, there is Byron who's saying, well, Byron, you're watching from Texas. Thank you very much for joining us. They're saying, well, what people do not know is Kitawaramba. Ngoja Bill Ipite. All right, good. So let me just leave it there. I'm going to go back. Now, this is the question that you're going to respond to once we come back, Mr. Mungai. And by the way, I love this because this Warren was asking you this question. Warren asked, can you ask Mr. Mungai, is it possible that he can pretend that Ruto has no history of what bedevils this country? Goes on to say, a man who's been taken to ICC because of political instability, a man who almost never made it to presidency because of political instability. Why is he not responding to that? That indeed his priority as a president is number one, political peace, and then number two, the economy. All right, it goes on to say, it was a long response, that indeed Kenyan economy could have been very far if we could be finding ways politically as opposed to what we're leading right now. You're going to come back and respond to that. Once we come back then, the bigger conversation begins. Remember, today, all eyes on the National House, and Mr. Ragalo comes back with that. Now, we've seen what the Deputy President has said, that indeed, if there is a member of parliament within that National House today, who's going to present views as to why this particular bill should not pass to its entirety, then you have no course again to turn around and ask the government, number one, to develop this country, to give you money to develop this country. You as a governor, if you're opposed to this particular bill, do not ask the government to give you money in the counties. Remember, right now, as we are talking, there's 80 billion extra, by the way, in those budget supplements, again, that has given counties more money. Counties will receive upwards of 385 billion. But then, the DP is saying, well, I mean, if you're a governor and you don't want it to go through, then why would you turn around and then come tell us, indeed, we do not have money in the counties? But aside from that, I want to hear what Prof and the two Erics in the house are going to talk about. I mean, when you have a president who's also said, look, I'm going to sit, watch carefully, and see which member of parliament within this government is going to say, well, I do not like it. He's not said what he's going to do with them, but then he said, well, I'm going to sit peacefully and wait. Now, let's talk about Senator Cherargei, who said, well, if you are within UDA, which is the majority party in Kenya Kwanza, he's saying, well, if you vote against this bill, we are going to come for you. And we're going to discipline you within party mechanisms because we're speaking as a party that has majority in this government. Is that what Kenyans want? Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. This is Lookuptv.
It's all about trying out fresh meals. As you know, your health comes first. Experience a tasty and sweet aroma in your kitchen today. It's not just about cooking, but also having fun, interesting conversations, keeping it professional, and not forgetting refreshing moments.
Oh, let me tell you, mine is gonna be a...
The Cook-Off with Alex Karani, Saturdays at 6 p.m.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaeni kitako, tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine.
Itakuwaje?
Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Malkia?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza, kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro. Kila Jumapili saa 8. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi, uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro, upate hela.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars because from June 26 to July 1st, 2023, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
It's a good thing we moved away then from the conversations on national prayers. The only person who has a question to respond to that is Mr. Mungai. Looks as if Prof and Eric have already closed their chapter on that. They do not want to focus on that. They've already made their submissions. They don't want to get back to that. Good. Mr. Mungai, it's up to you now. Good. But let's then focus on exactly what is supposed to happen in just a couple of minutes from now, by the way, because all your members of parliament today, whether they voted for the government or not, they have been presented with a document that is supposed to be the new chapter for the way that President Dr. William Ruto is supposed to run this government. Now today, if indeed they are not going to debate on any issue that is on that particular document and they pass it the way it is, then on the 15th of this month, that document will be rubber stamped. And that is exactly what's going to happen, that all the proposals that are within there, whether you like them or not, they're going to go through. Now, here's the introduction to this particular area, because we do know the debate is going to start on it. Number one, key figures within the Kenya Kwanza government have said, well, has to pass. Gotta pass, government doesn't lose. We have the numbers, it's gotta go the way it is. President Dr. William Ruto has already said he's gonna look keenly at all the members of parliament who are gonna stand and oppose this particular bill. He didn't say what he's gonna do to them, but he said, well, I just wanna see. But then it's up to you to make up your mind on exactly what that statement means. DP has already said, well, I do not expect any governor or any member of parliament who actually opposes this bill to turn around and ask the government for resources. You oppose it, you shut up. So now, what is that ambience like then today in the National House, Mr. Ragalo? Imagine you're a member of parliament and you've been told we are watching you.
I want to tell DP, I want to greet him first. Bwana Gachagua, are you okay? And I'm happy you said that yesterday. I want to tell DP Gachagua that from 1964,
yes,
apparently not 64, let me say 1967, when the first time Nyanza, basically Luo Nyanza, went into opposition through KPU, they were suffocated of all government resources.
Yes.
And you will see this if you go to Kisii today. Kisii is more advancedly made infrastructure-wise than even nearer town Homa Bay or even Rongo. But Homa Bay still have same level of naming. Sia's name is huge. You may think Sia looks like Mombasa. Only that when you go to Sia, even Thika looks bigger than Sia. Why I'm saying this is because if DP, that's what he thinks of saying, then us people of ODM, vis-a-vis Azimio, know it better. When schools in other parts of the country had cemented floor, Nyanza schools were not even mud. They were just floor of vumbi, soil. There were no walls in schools.
Yes.
There were no fences in school.
Yes.
And that school produces professors. One of them is here. If he will tell you the school he went to in Ugenya.
Prof, your school, did they have floors?
We used to carry cow dung to school and fire
Yeah.
everything. Right? You cannot even talk about it.
No
worth talking about it on television.
No worth talking about it. But the schools on this side,
yes,
I'm not saying which side,
yes,
but this side means the eastern side that was pro-government. They were well made. That's why you find in Kiambu County has more national schools. The national school on the other side was Maseno alone. When you talk about this, Nyanza know it better. Kikomi went. Fish used to live, all these bays, Homa Bay, Kendu Bay, all these bays are where fish farming or fish harvesting is done.
Yes.
They will come to Ruaraka for processing. There was no fish factory in that region. So if it is economic war against people who will vote no, it is okay. We've been there. We've survived it. Some of us are doctors, my friend. We went through that and we went to do other things and we became medics. Hello? Will that stop? You can never stop things that were made by God. So to threaten them that if you vote this way, don't ask. It's fine, keep it. I mean, the road from Sia to Nyadorera was built in 2010. But on the books, the road was always there. But it was built in 2010.
Yes.
I used to chapa that vumbi up to home. It was okay. I mean, we never died of hypertension. I mean, it's not the first time that this is going to happen. So if that is a threat, we've been there. And actually, things turned around in 2007 and beyond. That's when Nyanza started growing. He's here. He will say, Eric, is you lying, or Eric, you... The road from Bondo to Ugenya was built 2012. Things were built between 2008 to now. That's why the Nyanza people were the first people to look for devolution. Moi beat it by saying, watu wanataka kuleta, he didn't call it ugatuzi, he was calling it majimbo.
Mm-hmm.
And majimbo was used wrongly. Remember Anasir akipinga majimbo,
yes,
because they were saying we want to divide the country. Then the nicer name came ugatuzi. Because you have to change a name to make it look better, because the former name was looking it bad, but it was all Majimbo. We are Majimbo now. Yes. So if that is what he's saying, please, DP, do it. Because we've been there.
Do you think your people would actually allow you to say, okay, just go right ahead and do it?
How I wish this finance bill goes through.
Is that your wish?
Yes.
Mr. Ragalo?
Yes.
When you know very well.
100% wish.
What would that be your wish at this particular point?
Because those people who thought they were punishing Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, they'll get common sense. Sometime God punished Israelites. And the punishment came through the people who were for God and not for God. If there was a hunger, it was both before manna came.
Yes.
It was for both.
Yes.
Before manna came. You understand?
Yes.
If snake were biting people, it was all of them before the bronze snake was lifted. Are you understanding this? Sometime let us all suffer. And I want to see who will suffer more. The person who will go emotional suffering and pocket suffering. Me, I'll go pocket suffering, not emotional, because I never wanted this government. But someone will go through emotional suffering and pocket suffering. Sometime let things pass. If you ask me if I sleep and wait and wake up tomorrow, this thing has passed in parliament,
yes,
it will be my win. Because sometime you let these things that people think is wrong to pass.
Pretty much. Mr. Ragalo, there's a direct question to you, by the way. You're going to respond on that, and it's essentially on the demonstrations that we've seen in the central business district, but all of them have also ended up with majority of them getting tear gassed. You'll come and respond to that as well, on essentially what is our democratic right when it comes to expressing ourselves as Kenyans and our unions as well in this discourse. Good. I'll be coming back. Mr. Mungai, take a minute, respond to Mr. Warren, who was asking you why you're pretending like your president, our president, sorry, doesn't know that indeed in this country you need political peace if you're going to grow, and majority of economies that are growing have political peace. And then respond to the second one. Why is it that now this debate for finance bill, a process that is within the constitution, I mean, draft it, go back to the public, take it back to the National House. If it doesn't go through, let it settle, let it take its own course. Why is it becoming an emotive issue within your party, that is within the government? That's the UDA party.
Thank you, Simba. First is to respond to Warren and
yes,
say that in the current political setup that
yes,
we have,
yes,
regardless of which political divide you go into,
yes,
there'll always, if you try and pick out something, there'll always be flaws with our political leaders. You could pick one here and another here and another here.
Yes.
And I think escalating that discussion, it is important in future that even we ourselves who sometimes pretend to be good leaders, to offer ourselves as candidates. You know, like Prof has said, he ran for Ugenya. And I think it is important that many of us, as many as possible, including Warren, he needs to, because he has a solution to some of the problems we have. And it is important for him sometimes to also wade into the political waters, and so that we can have a bigger pool, because as it is now, in fact, I can tell you the next president is within the current pool that we have always been having for the last 50 or so years. I can tell you that. But it is important that we as young people and we as
like the way from where you laughing, is it the truth though?
Any young man listening, no, even if it's true or not, but remember that young man listening to us, when a young man like us says that we have no show.
Yes?
No. I have said that's
I'm
not
done. I'll be coming back to you. Mr. Mungai, complete your point. Yeah.
I've said it is important that we as young people present ourselves to these positions, and then the voter will make a decision as to who is best suited for them.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it will be a losing battle according to you, Mr. Mungai.
Not necessarily, because I have also presented myself for candidature, and I vied for Kiambu County gubernatorial position. I did not win, but there is a future. There is hope. There is hope in that political terrain. So let's keep trying.
Okay.
Then secondly is the issue of the finance bill and why we are very emotive about it. First is to say that the Budget and Appropriations Committee will present their findings, including public participations, today in the full house. and to say that we are going to have a 3.67 trillion budget. And that budget, that bill has a raft of issues, and we've been debating about them for the last couple of weeks, the merits and the demerits. And I think it is important for the House leadership and for the members of Parliament to make a decision that is progressive, and to make a decision that we might not necessarily agree with. Sometimes we may not agree to something because of the limitation. You know, that's why you have leaders, because sometimes the leaders can be able to, the reason why we give you leadership is so that you can take us not necessarily in the direction we want, but in a direction that for the sake of the future is the right direction. And I think this, I like the way you look at me.
You gotta repeat that, because that's where you start becoming controversial. That's it. I can see Ragalo is looking at you like, well, the direction, not necessarily in the direction that you want, but that's why we put you there, so you can take us to the direction that we want.
Not necessarily.
No, Mr. Mungai, come on.
The constitution is clear.
Is it not clear though?
Yeah, that the sovereign power is to the people.
It's to the people.
Yeah.
So once we decide we're going left, that's why we put you there.
And they do delegate it.
Yes.
But the constitution delegates authority, okay?
Yes.
It delegates to certain institutions.
With failure, we take it
to make
directly.
when there is failure, we can take it directly.
And what is that failure, Mr. Mungai? You're taking us in the direction that we
Simba, one second. They said wanasikiza ground. So wanafaa kungojea watu ama wasikize watu ama watu
Mr. Mungai, can you clear your point?
Let us disembark. Let us a bit disembark. We need to take some water.
That's it.
I can see the temperature. Please, Eric.
I'm going to take some water right now as well. Yeah.
What I mean is this: in Parliament, there is majority and there is minority. Okay, and the minority are also going to table a raft of proposals on how we can improve the finance bill, okay?
Yes.
Including me, who supports the finance, the bill.
Yes.
I have a number of reservations, and I have a number of improvements that I would want to see in that particular bill, okay? So it does not necessarily mean that because we disagree on some issues within that bill, okay? There are issues I would want improved. For instance, if you look at the 3%, an MP who wants 1 million is going to pay 2,500. If you look at it as a percentage of the amount of money he's paying, it is 0.0025. If you look at the guy earning 70,000 Kenya shillings, he has contributed the actual 3%. So when you look at it, it is disproportionate. The higher cadre are actually contributing less towards that. It is not commensurate. That is a raft, that is a proposal I would want implemented in that finance bill. So you see, it does not mean that because I support the bill, I have left my head at home and I am no longer have the capacity to think. And the chairman, including the president, remember when the digital content creators went to see him at State House, he listened to their concerns. And he said, based on your presentations, I can see there is a need for us to amend that particular issue, okay?
Yes.
So I think in terms of us making this bill, because this is our budget, if we don't pass it, we have no money to pay.
Which is okay, because the question was, Prof, you're going to come in next and quickly at that. The problem was, Mr. Mungai, to not evade the question, the problem was, does it not then concern you that you have your personal concerns that you wish would be properly represented in this debate, but then you have your president, you have your deputy president, who are essentially party leaders, who are majority in government, telling you, well, guys, it's got to go through. Don't you feel underrepresented in that conversation?
No, I do not.
Why
do not?
not?
Because I have mechanisms of escalating my views to make sure that my views are heard. What Prof explained is one process within which you can take your memoranda. But there are other mechanisms, because we have a party. I belong to UDA party. I have a mechanism of escalating my issues, including to my member of parliament, including even minority. They have representation in parliament.
No, we don't.
He has
Sabina left us.
No, you know,
so who is going to
discussion.
Could be through, but waiting for the documents to get to the registrar's office and then see exactly.
It is good
with the way it is now, with what you explained.
It
looks as if they do not.
To have an honest conversation.
Yes.
But my point is, when say the leader of majority says this thing will pass and it must pass, you know that's the truth. You know why? The reason why sometimes we get frustrated when we hear such statements is because what we are hearing is that even if there are bad proposals in there, it will pass. But the thing is this, for us to have a proper, for us to be able to draw expenditure, for this country to be able to move forward, we must have a budget. So regardless of whatever we agree on, at the end of the day, the bill must pass.
That's it, but
that
they have
is the truth.
Mr. Mungai, stop correcting their statements.
No, but that is
you're
the truth.
correcting their statements.
Yes.
Can I give you, okay, with what you've said, Prof, you're going to jump in shortly. With what you've said, could you then support what you've said right now with what Senator Ragalo said?
No,
nothing is going to be amended. Not a full stop,
Not a
nothing,
comma.
no comma. It's got to go the way it is.
No, you know.
Which is why we asked you, is it getting very difficult for you to defend your party leaders?
No, the majority leader.
Yes.
The majority leader has the right to express himself, okay? But what our party leader or
Yes.
the president has said
Yes.
is that there is room for amendments. And that is why you saw in State House, he said, I have listened to the digital content creators and I've heard your hue and cry.
At what stage?
Okay.
Mr. Mungai?
No,
At
but
what stage,
it's
Mr.
not,
Mungai?
it's not
Okay,
a law.
amendment
stage,
is being done at what stage? Just
what stage,
teachers.
Mr. Mungai?
Yes, it's not a law.
Mr. Mungai,
It
at
is
what
a bill.
stage?
Let me
At
ask
what
him
stage?
kindly.
Which is a constitutional process?
Allow me to ask him a question. Let me ask a question. Then he can continue.
Okay, he's going to come back to it. Yes.
In the BBI bill, you could not change.
BBI. Okay, nice.
Yes.
Proceed.
In the
Please,
BBI
just
bill,
call me a back.
in the BBI bill, you could not amend even a comma. How do you amend a bill in Parliament? I just want you to tell us how this bill is going to be amended. It's already a written bill.
That's it.
Which is going to be represented in Parliament for discussion to start. I want you kindly to tell me at what stage do we amend the bill in Parliament?
And Mr. Mungai, it's already moved from the public participation stage.
Yes.
Which is okay, you're going to come back to that. Prof, I know you've done a lot of notes and you're going to respond to whatever this gentleman has spoken about, but I want you to base your argument from this perspective. Who is supreme? And I want you to make it clear. When the president says that we as the government, now listen, and that's what it said in this particular bill. When the president said that we as the government have presented a bill that we think is going to be proper in running the economy of this country for the next 1 year, who is he talking about that we as the government? Then would it make sense for Mungai to come here and tell us, well, any other person who disagrees with that then has to be punished because we're speaking with the voice of the government. When the president says that we as the government are presenting a bill, then would it make sense to know very well that the government, which is the majority in the National House then, is going to make it pass? Who is the government in this discussion?
I think, Simba, you asked a very good question, and as I told you before, I'll tackle that very first question before I say anything else, because we need to give justice to our viewers.
Yes.
You know, people have to understand that Kenya Kwanza, let's say the executive is not the government. Government has three arms. The executive, legislature, and then we have judiciary. So when he says government, does it mean him and Rigathi Gachagua, or does it mean him and the ministers, which is the executive? Also, the executive is defined, isn't it?
Yes.
Is defined. Who are the members of the executive? So is he talking about the executive? If he's going to parliament, parliament is an arm of government. Government has to have three arms. And in fact, there's something I said earlier that what the president has done as a big mistake in his administration is to create the fourth arm of government, which is illegal. Because we have judiciary, we have legislature, we have the executive. Then the fourth arm of government is the State House that calls upon everyone to do everything else. So all the three arms of government report to State House, which means State House is the super arm of government. Yet it is even illegal. In fact, according to me, with all due respect to His Excellency the President and the Deputy President, they should have just done one other thing: draft the bill and let the members of parliament do their parts. Because according to me, the president do not trust the intelligence and deliberation of his members of parliament. That's why they are instructing them on what to do. They don't believe that the parliament is intelligent enough to deliberate on the bill and dispense it, whether it's accepting with the revision, no revision, passing as it is without a comma or not. And in fact, the fact that they are the ones who gave them the tickets to run for these offices, and they are members of UDA, and they are not trusted to be intelligent, The president maybe is right because he knows those he's elected that they have no intelligence to pass the right bill, so he has to tell them. Because there must be independence in thinking. Judiciary cannot think the same way as parliament, because they're the custodian of the country, because that's why the constitution is guarded. Parliament legislates it. The executive proposes how to execute them. You know, people have to understand that the executive proposes, Parliament legislates it, isn't it? The judiciary is the custodian of the constitution. So if all of them are looking at it one way, it is wrong, and that's why people have been criticizing. I saw my brother Ahmed Nasir criticizing Martha Koome that she's in government and she's being treated as one member of government, and the independence of judiciary is at its worst level since ever that office was created. Because people don't see it. Forget about Moi time. Moi era, he used to cook all these CJs and do what they want. For example, I can give you my fellow school alumni called Chunga. Chunga was St. Mary's Yala old boy like myself. And Chunga was a chief justice without a law degree. Why did Moi choose Chunga to be a chief justice without law degree? It is because Chunga, first of all, was one of the best in English. When it's St. Mary's Yala, you must be good in English and maths. If you are getting D's and C, they find a way to advise you not to do your KCSE there. That's what they used to do. So you must be an A, B class so that you can pass. Chunga was the best in English in the whole country. But Chunga was writing rulings for many magistrates until he had one of the refined knowledge in judiciary. So he was appointed chief just without a law degree. It's impossible now. But that Moi did because any time Chunga wanted to disagree with him, by the way, do you know you don't have a degree? He remind you, by the way, you don't have a degree. So then you have to play his book. He gives you a playbook, you play with it. If you don't, you suffer. So according to me, the president could have given the judicial independence to judiciary. The president could have given the parliamentary independence to parliament. They were just supposed to propose, then these people actually able to do. In fact, parliament looks like an IT software where we talk about garbage in, garbage out. Meaning, you propose CS, garbage in, garbage out. ODPP, garbage in, they approved it. CS was approved, garbage in, garbage out. We had the DCI, garbage in, garbage out. Central Bank Governor, garbage in, garbage out. PSS, garbage in, garbage out. Supplementary bill, garbage in, garbage out. And we are going to have this bill, garbage in, garbage out. Look at it, what is said. We have seen the draft budget. Already they have written and approved proposed the budget as if the bill has passed. Then he's telling us they are going to review it. But are we fools?
Exactly.
Let me tell you what, you're supposed to wed this woman, isn't it? You're telling, we can wed or not. Yet photos showing the scene of the reception already shows so and so has wedded another lady. Why is this woman coming to you that you're still dating that you're going to wed? It is a joke of the century. So according to me, the garbage in, garbage out, the 3.7 trillion has factored in that the bill has passed. So it's a joke. My second point, the president missed an opportunity to listen and learn from the media interview. You are there.
Yes.
You know, media like you see those guys texting you. They don't text the president, they text you. They talk to you. They call you. They follow on social media. They tell you what they feel. The president, instead of listening to the media, to be educated by the media, he wanted to look brilliant by explaining everything and become a genius in explaining stuff. But was punitive to Kenyans whom you listen to. The question asked him about the house levy. He was asked questions about the tax bill, about the gas thing. He was just trying to look intelligent but bashing. So if you don't listen to your media, in fact, Hussein Mohammed, who is working in his office, is a media guy, which means he knows what he should do. You should listen to the front of the media. They were supposed to listen to the media and find out how can you be able to benefit from this. And then the third point I want to give, I can tell you, I don't know Raila Odinga. We've never met in person. But I tell you where he is praying that this finance bill passes. Because this finance bill...
Regardless of what he's saying.
Yes. He's praying the finance bill passes. Do you know why? Because it will make him more relevant. Because what's happening is that by passing this finance bill, it will disadvantage Kenya Kwanza as opposed to making them advantageous. Because of what? President William Ruto's social or political capital will diminish after passing this bill. Because these are the maths, I tell you. I'm an economist. There's an equation called good strategy plus good execution. Bad strategy, bad execution. Good strategy, bad strategy, bad execution. But the worst strategy we are having here, we have a bad strategy with an excellent execution. We have the numbers, we have drafted the budget. This is, by the way, going to pass. It's like when you put a gun on your head, we pray that you don't press the right button, isn't it? But they're going to, if they play the right button today and blow their head with this gun, Raila Odinga should be celebrating, because the best way to make an opponent lose is by making them make their own mistake. It's like they have given Raila Odinga a penalty where a goalkeeper has also been suspended. The problem now we have with Kenya Kwanza is this will ban their manifesto, because they promise people price of unga, price of gas, everything, cost will go up, because anything that moves except birds, their prices goes up when you increase fuel. And the problem with the Azimio, where my brother now Ragalo has to fix, if you give Raila Odinga an empty net for a penalty, he will not shoot. He will say, can you now bring the goalkeeper and other players inside? That's why he was given an empty net after elections were nullified and refused to run. And that's what I want them to come together and say, why don't you act on this Kenya Kwanza government after they blow their head with a loaded gun, isn't it? And make things work. Then the fourth point I have to make, which is, I'm going to finish with this.
Yes.
Kenya Kwanza government, their advisor, for example, a friend and member of the party, Confessor Eric, please, go tell Kenya Kwanza they know the bill is bad. I tell you, they know. In fact, they know there's a mistake. And then in that very point,
what are the telltale signs that they know it's bad?
Do you know why? This bill was drafted by IMF sitting on the 9th floor of Treasury. I can tell you with confirmation. I'm an economist. These are friends, I know them. This bill was drafted by IMF sitting in the 9th floor to be specific. So what happens with people like, when you have power, you know, when you are very powerful, power can make you make very big mistakes.
Yes.
I have numbers, I have the military,
yes.
I have the police, I have the money, I'm the head of state, I'm the commander-in-chief, isn't it? You suffer from what is called dad syndrome. Do you know what dad syndrome is?
In just 15 seconds, I want us to take a tiny
decide,
breather. So that,
dad,
yes.
Decide, announce, defend. Even if you are wrong,
yes.
you continue, you have decided. Because as a father at home,
yes.
once you make a decision, all the children and your wife and everyone knows you are wrong, but because you're a father, you decide, and once you announce, you cannot recant, you just continue insisting you're right. And that's why the issue is they have said, this bill is Ruto versus Raila. So this bill must pass so that it looks like Ruto has beaten Raila, but he's beating Raila to kill himself with it. And that's where the dilemma is. And that's why Raila is praying it passes. Ragalo says it should pass, isn't it? And please allow me to say something, because he's mentioned something about my home. Please, this is very important.
Yes, in 15
I've
seconds.
heard people saying that there are so many professors in Luo Nyanza, especially in Siaya, isn't it? And the thing is that people say this region is because we eat fish. It is not something like that. No. It is the misnomer. Let me tell you what.
It's the poverty
why
that
there are so many professors in Siaya is just because of scarcity.
Yes.
Yeah. As an economist, they say, if you have so many opportunities, you tend to misuse them. When you have only one opportunity, you leave it. So for us in Siaya, there was only one thing: go to school.
Prof.
Because we are not in government, we cannot tender entrepreneur, we cannot get government appointment. You have to go to school and become a teacher, become a doctor. And I think that that is what we should tell the government. If they are thinking we are going to sit back and cry to them to give us, we have no those chances. We shall go to school and follow our path. We put our destiny before God, and may God make it happen for us.
I want us to come back so that we can continue on that. Mr. Mungai, you have a big task now, because indeed then the gentleman was sitting with you now saying, well, let it pass. Then Mr. Mungai and all of us now were supporting this particular government will turn around and say, what have you done? But once we come back, there's a question that was put to Ragalo on exactly where we are in this particular bill. Why is the government even discouraging civil unions from going to the streets and expressing their democratic right on exactly what they feel about this particular bill, when they're getting told it's going to pass whether you like it or not. So once we come back then, the question that I'm going to put to Prof and Mr. Mungai and Mr. Ragalo is, what's going to be the tune today for any other member of parliament who's going to stand up and speak? What is going to be their strategy? To look good for the DEP and the president, and to look good in front of our eyes, because we put them to task. Take us to our direction. Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, this is Lookuptv. My name is Simba Kiage. By the way, we're online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Once we come back, let's get into the final section of this discussion.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars, because from June 26 to July 1st, 2023, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
In a world where every voice matters, where women and children need our unwavering support, Muthingi TV's Muthoni Nyarari stands out. And it's for this reason that she has been nominated for the AfriGlow Women Choice Awards 2023 as the presenter of the year. Your voice matters. Your support counts. To vote for Muthoni Nyarari, dial *483 *733 *551212#. Together, let's amplify our voices and bring attention to the issues that matters the most.
So let's kill this conversation then in the next 25 minutes or so. And now we're taking our closing submissions. There's one question that Mr. Mungai has to answer. That when the president said, "I hear your cries" at State House to all the creatives in the country who were complaining about the 15% withholding tax, was it crocodile tears? Because indeed, the process for participation was already done and dusted. So it is right in Parliament. That's one we're waiting to see, that particular response. And number two now, Mr. Ragalo, what is so special about this finance bill this time around, where even civil unions have gone to the streets to protest about the finance bill, and this reaction from the government that anybody now who goes to the street, you know, whether you're a small group, whether you're a couple of people, you're either arrested or tear gassed. What is so special about this finance bill?
Thank you. Before I answer your question on the speciality of the finance bill, I want to ask those people who went to see the president in State House, who are they going to give the document that they were carrying? Who is the president in public participation? Because that is not his job now. His job was to present us with his thinking, which he did.
Yes.
Then from there, unless those guys who call themselves what do you call this? These people who do Facebook,
comedians or creatives,
creatives,
yeah,
those
creatives,
bloggers.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless whatever they do, they never went to school, and I want to be very harsh on them. So the president tells them, I'm going to look at it as who? Because the president was not going to change that document that is being written by the other side. Unless president was going to sit with that other group and tell them, by the creative people were here and they are requesting we reduce the excise duty.
Yeah, the 50%.
So now the president was going to sit with the other guys and tell them, this is what I met these other guys yesterday. Wasn't it not important for these guys to seek meeting the other group, which is a public participation? I could go even alone and do it, is it?
Yes.
Why would they go to the president? Unless walikuwa wanataka kuonekana State House, which anyway walionekana. And na hiyo iliishia hapo. I'm very harsh on them. People should do civic education. Why did they do GHC?
I didn't say that. Some of them are personal friends. I'm not saying
why did
Ragalo is one who said that.
Yes, and I'm still saying, why did you do GHC? Geography, history, and civic. What was civic part of it? So that you can think and understand the civility of your nation.
Good.
Fine
What is
people.
so special about this finance
Now
bill?
I'm just answering those people. So that next time they do things, they start thinking. When I had an issue with BBI, I didn't go to see Uhuru. I went to BBI committees and offered what I thought. Some of people should have civility. Now when you see them wearing suits here, you think they are very open-minded.
Mr. Ragalo.
Tafadhali ule mama mboga mwenye wanadharau.
Tapigwa bwana.
Nawaambia ukweli.
Tapigwa bwana.
How content creators, they all were creating content in State House.
No, stop.
Sawa. So the other one.
Stop. Stop.
The other issue, number 2,
okay,
is that who is our whip up to now? It is Sabina. So what will Sabina whip us to?
To Kenya Kwanza.
So what is the function of the whip in parliament? Is to organize your team. So who is going to organize our team in parliament? For you to understand why we were saying political harmony is important for anything.
Yes.
So who is going to whip us today?
Yes.
To where? That is the thing I'm asking. So if Kenya Kwanza disorganized us from day one by making sure Wetangula becomes the speaker, which is a fact, is a lie, because Wetangula should not become a speaker, because how was he voted? Which was the team to bring the speaker in parliament? Was it Kenya Kwanza or was it us, Azimio? It was us to offer the speaker because we had the majority on paper. But now on numbers, they decided to pick our people. Which is true.
I want him to clear his point because you're going to
on paper, we had the numbers. But by the time we were going for swearing in, the Northeastern group had sworn their heart to whatever I was talking about. Oh, group has gone. That is how we lost it. The speciality of this thing is where I was coming, all these stories coming to here. Lies, innuendo, and manipulation is making this document special. First of all, you lied to Kenyans when you are speaking in any market, any shopping center, telling them, oh, NHIF is going to go, we are going to have every Kenyan under NHIF by December. What have you made by December? So everything they said is a lie. They even lied today telling you, tuliingia juzi hatujajipanga. Bro, when we are in 2 years and a half, it is a half, a what? Half the Jubilee, administration of Kenya Kwanza, is it?
Yes.
When 1 year is gone, you are talking about a quarter. We are actually at a quarter of this administration. So you want to tell me, bado hamjajipanga at a quarter of administration? That's why I say civility. Inataenda mpaka na hesabu. So at a quarter of administration mjajipanga, na unadanganya wa Kenya that you're going to make sure healthcare is affordable. You're going to make sure fuel is affordable. You're going to make sure unga is affordable. If you did not do that, the problem with this document, people are seeing lies, innuendo, and manipulation. It's all social. It's all social. So why do you want me to believe that the document that is going in is going for a discussion? Nothing. It's going for a pass. Because by the time the document is going for a discussion, you've already produced your what? Your finance what?
That's a budget.
Budget.
Appropriations, yes.
Appropriation.
Yes.
Are you going to change it?
No.
If this document fails, you need to go and sit on this budget again and change everything. But you are writing it with the mindset that this thing is going to pass. That is what I'm calling innuendo and manipulation. Manipulation, you are telling them, I'm going to sit pretty at peace. Don't use the word peace. Peace is used even when you're not at peace. I'm going to be at peace to watch people who are going to fail it. That is manipulative word. Unless I didn't do poetry. When your deputy says, whoever fails it should not come to ask for development at their places. Oh, Luo Nyanza have never been. We will not come. And I'm very sure all Luo Nyanza MPs wanaenda kuangusha. Kama watafungia development yetu fine. My friend, tutasoma. We'll become doctors, lawyers and everything. We've been there even when things were not happening. Tutasoma. What you cannot block is education in our head. My friend, tutasoma. Now we will come, become judges. We will come. You may take everything, but you can never take education. Tutasoma. So those are manipulative words. The only problem with this document are lies, innuendo, and manipulation. Lies. You said you're going to make sure you will not raise excise duty of fuel during campaign. You're now putting at 16%, the one you are refusing when Uhuru was doing the same. Mudavadi and you said that housing whatever bill that time was wrong until you made Uhuru drop some things and even to 1%. Right now you are doing it. Lies, manipulation, and innuendo. You think people forget? People remember. So why do you use the lies and manipulation and innuendo to push some of these things? We cannot trust.
That's what
I wish it passes though. Because the people we were assisting to see the sun refused and stayed in the darkness.
Yes.
Now they are looking for the moon. We're not going to give them the moon. We're going to give them a failed torch. Wacha hii kitu ipite. Ndio wale watu waliotuleta kwa hii shida wapate common sense when they are doing the next election.
Pretty much.
And most of them are in here in Mount Kenya because they are still being manipulated. And I'm telling Mount Kenya people, you're being divided the same way it happened 1992 and beyond. You'll find yourself with 2 running presidents. The other teams will be there. The other team, look at 1992 when Moi was there. Mount Kenya was already divided. They were having so many for the Kenya, for the Dasili, for the Wat, DP, all parties in Mount Kenya. Whereas Nyanza remained with for the Kenya, the other communities remained with their parties. You kept being divided. Then when you vote, you are fragmented. The other people, Moi was passing because you are fragmented.
Yes.
That is what is going to happen, and they are being lied to. My friend here is preparing their people for downfall, and I will tell him, I'm not going to die. I'll be breathing the next 20 years. I will tell you, you made your community go down.
Mr. Mungai, let's jump in. And I want to ask you from this perspective, and the same question that I put to you last time when you were here talking about the reactions that we've seen from the country as regards this finance bill. What makes it special this time around? Why these emotions that we're seeing within, not just within the citizenry, but even within your party? Where now we've gone up to the place where we're talking about threats to party members, right? What makes it special?
Well, Simba, I've listened to my brother make his submissions, and one of the things I must tell him is that Mount Kenya is not short of prophets. So even as you forecast for us, we might want you to tone down a little bit because our prophets are still working. That's one. Secondly, yes. You ask about emotions. Yeah. I'm not sure who is emotional now, because when I listen to Eric, who I presume represents Azimio, yes. You know, sometimes I imagine we bury our head in the sand and we are not cognizant that our flank is open. Yes. And him wishing him well and guilt-tripping the Kenya Kwanza plan, gaslighting us, is, you know, sometimes when we used to fight in school, in primary school, you would pick an opponent, and when the opponent beats you thoroughly, you would tell them, nimekuachia Mungu. And you know, really, you cannot come into a fight, and when I do you a good one, you start threatening me with other scenarios from the air. What I want to say is this. It is our first budget, yes, as Kenya Kwanza team. I do not want to say as Kenya Kwanza government because I'm not part of government. As part of UDA, this is our first budget, and I am particularly glad because for the first time we are having a debate about issues that affect us. You know, if we were fighting here about things that tribes and everything, that would not be a good discussion. But for the first time, we are having a very civilized debate about the future of our country, yes, and with particular reference to this finance bill. It's a good thing. I would want this debate to continue. I would want every input that is out there to be considered. Let us not shy away. It is a good thing when Eric expresses himself the way he does, and wishing as well, hoping that we are going into the river to drown. But he might not know that we are excellent swimmers. So do not wish us, do not be very happy that we are going into the river. We might not drown, my friend. Yes. We might just find ourselves on the other end, very successful. Yes. And I would want to tell Kenyans, especially our viewers, you know, sometimes when you leave Egypt, you know, you're used to slavery, you are used to food rations, yes, you are used to all manner of torture. And sometimes when you're set free and you go into the wilderness has its own challenges. And sometimes you tend to remember the rations that you used to take while you were in captivity. So the wilderness is not easy, but I can promise them that with the plan that the Kenya Kwanza government has, yes, we are headed into a land of milk and honey. And
when Ungai is 300 and no salary has been added.
Mr. Mungai,
I was expecting you to say amen to that, not to dispute. You know, but
just hold on, Mr. Mungai. Just hold on. I want to jump. I want to quickly move away from that conversation, Prof. I want to point you out to how this number, and this is the last thing that we're going to weigh in on this particular conversation, because if essentially then it's come down to this. Now, let me give out in the numbers as we are waiting for them to start debating on this thing. So let's look at what is essentially the opposition side, right? Let's camp. If essentially we're going to look at it, they already do have 126 MPs, excluding rebel Jubilee members of parliament. We're looking at it from that perspective, that you stay within the party, but then we know where you're aligned now. That's 126.
You could have given the whole Azimio MPs.
That's it.
Plus the ones that even left.
That's it. So I'm just looking at it.
So when you talk of majority, yes, we know.
That's it. 126 members of parliament, excluding rebel Jubilee members of parliament. That's how we're looking at it. There's one independent member of parliament, that's Migori woman representative. Okay? Let's put it like that. Then let's look at Ruto's camp, then the government side. If essentially we're going to use the word that has been used by party, Kenya Kwanza, or UDA party leaders, okay? Now, we're looking at it in this sense. Raila's camp essentially now is represented by 127. We'll leave it there. Good. Ruto's camp, we're looking at 221 for starters, okay? And Kenya Kwanza, 165 members of parliament, all right? We're looking at Azimio breakaway parties, all right? That are 14 members of parliament that have essentially then joined his camp. We're looking at ODM rebels, all right? 6 members of parliament. We're looking at Jubilee rebel members of parliament that are 25. Then independent, if you do remember, the ones who joined the party as well, 11 members of parliament. Now, there's also one factor here that we have to look at if indeed we're going to talk about exactly how this debate is going to go. The Azimio side are going into this debate before the registrar of political parties receives the final submissions of that NDC. She didn't say it was illegal. She's saying, I'm waiting for all the paperwork to come in so that I could actually put in place what you said. So in terms of them having a whip, they still do have Sabina Chege. It's a debate. And the numbers are going to play out. So here's the thing. Are we right to say that indeed it's a lost battle?
Yes.
The only prayer, Prof, is that indeed members of parliament are going to wake up to their senses and stop listening to the president, stop listening to the DP, stop listening to the likes of Cheriot and Senator Cherargei and the likes of the majority whip now, or Soro, and say, we are going to debate issues and we're going to amend particular issues. What is the likely scenario today, Prof, once you know the numbers and the issues that are put to you?
Thank you very much, Simba. This is what we are supposed to begin with.
Yeah.
I told you before that we can waste time on the questions that the two Erics are answering, but this is now Solomonic. I think, Simba, give it to them.
Yes.
And I will start, I'll start this way.
Yes.
First of all, I empathize with what my brother Eric Ragalo is saying, but there's something which is missing here. When these people have proposed their budget and the memoranda to the tax bill, where is that one from Azimio? Because you see what's happening? Shadow government, opposition, why we had even shadow cabinets. As we speak now, Oparanya was appointed by Raila as CS Treasury before the election. He should also say what should be the counter budget that people are looking for. No, when you go and say it is A or A or A, yes, there's no alternative. As an expert in decision making, a decision is a choice between at least 2 or 3 alternatives. You cannot have a decision between yes or yes. So that's the if you reject this bill, then what do we pass? So there should be that's something there should have been, let's say, 3-4 bills, yes, according to me. In fact, as a leader of Operation Dogatuzi, we are looking at a point whereby these numbers are not supposed to vote against one. Even in an election, we have 3-4 candidates. Here in Parliament, we have one candidate, the finance bill, which is called Zakayo bill, isn't it?
Yes.
So we have one Zakayo bill to vote for. They should all vote for them. Why? If there's only one person vying for an election, it's unopposed. So this bill will pass unopposed. Because there's no opposer. There's no opposer.
That's what you foresee.
Yes, there's no opposer because what are you opposing? Well, you cannot just say no. In fact, it's not intelligent enough even for leader of minority in parliament to oppose this thing without proposing. Yes. You should say, I oppose this, I propose this one. So for me, that's where the issue is. And if I can tell you, if you see it, William Ruto is a very smart politician. In fact, the fact that he has become president, yes, beating Raila Odinga, who has tried 5 times, yes, and is doing the first term and winning, he's a smart politician. Yes. This bill is not an economic bill. This is a political bill. I've told you the formulation is this way. Ruto versus Raila. It is not about the content of the bill. So my brother is giving us a very bad discussion by saying this bill has been deeply debated. Which debate have you had? We have not had any debate. After all, there's no intellectual discourse going on. KEPSA, KMA, all those associations has presented a memoranda suggesting this bill is dangerous. And it's still going. What are we talking about discussion? If my brother here is more political, like he is here, now in Parliament, it is even more political than this. So there's no economic discussion in Parliament. Yes. I've done my survey. Only 2% of members of Parliament, these numbers you give me, yes, have got a basic education in economics. Most of them are business people, lawyers, isn't it? Among other professions. They are not hard-nosed economists who knows that at stagflation means that unemployment is really high, inflation is high, and also we are talking about the issue poverty has gone up, and then somebody is increasing taxation. Stagflation means that the economy will be choked. I can also tell you, Kenya Kwanza won't collect these taxes. We are going to register deficits of taxes after taxes. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Somebody has put a gun on their head. The only person who can stop this bill is not these members of parliament. Is William Ruto getting into his senses, not members of parliament getting into their senses. Because the only sense here is William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. There is no sense in parliament as I speak. If there is sense, garbage in, garbage out could have not happened. This is the only thing. And then I can tell you again, all these things, you can say he's the chief whip and the rest. There's what you call on paper, but on the floor of the house. Even these numbers are much better by giving Raila 127. You will see that these figures will be below 127. And against the bill. There'll be less against than 127. Mark my words. I'm an economist. Numbers don't lie. And I'm telling you, some people will vote yes, but their yes are very different. There's yes to punish. Wanasema mtoto akililia wembe mpe. Sasa wembe itapewa. Na wembe ni finance bill. Somebody atajinyoa na wembe yake na bila kumwagia maji. It will be very painful. I'm telling you, this bill is going to pass. These numbers, there's nothing here. In fact, remember also there's something very interesting about parliament that people are not getting here. In the Constitution of Kenya, we are talking about one thing which is important. There is no opposition in parliament. We have majority and minority. And parliament should not be looking at numbers for us and against us. Parliament should be debating as a unit and pass this bill as a unit or reject it as a unit because that's the leadership of the speaker. If the speaker cannot provide us to have, if our parliament is divided, yet Kenya should be united. Prayer breakfast should be united today. Then tomorrow, we are fighting in parliament. There's no such a thing as a country. For me, the president's priority for me, if you ask me, unite the country, because what I'm looking for, in fact, Mungai, I'm praying for a time when these young people can tweet and say, come invest in my country. In Korea, it's happening. Can you imagine in our social media, everybody is insulting the other? While in some countries, people are tweeting and say, come and visit my country. We have tourism there. We have investment here. It's a beautiful country here and there. Kenya is beautiful. Let us be united first. And political peace has priority over this economic thing. And any country that has developed have to enjoy a stable political environment, because if you are investor seeking in New York, sitting in London, in Paris, and you are looking at the front page of Kenya, very busy with the tax, this tax, that, Raila says this, Ruto says that. When you go to Uganda, Tanzania is very quiet. Tanzania is about youth education. You can invest in education. But for if you are seeing Raila insulting Ruto on front page, do you invest in Ruto or Raila? You invest in Kenya. When you go to Uganda, it's quiet. Of course, now there will be a bit of noise about LGBTQ or something like that. But nevertheless, move in and say, you'll never air those nonsense on my television. So I'm trying to say here is that, why don't we unite first? Even at home, your wife can refuse to go for dinner, even if you have Subaru or, let's say, Ferrari taking you, if there's no peace. Let us unite first, political stability first, unite parliament, unite judiciary, unite executive, and let the government work. Unite Kenyans, let's be one. These things where Ragalo is saying, we and them, we are one country, one nation, united under one flag, under one constitution. Let us unite Kenyans, because let me tell you what, my brother, when I finish, Kenyans, listen to me. You are more united economically, more than tribally. Because let me tell you what, if a Luo's business bans, some Kikuyus suffer. If a Kikuyu's business bans or fails, some Luos, Kalenjins, Kambas, Luyas suffer. In this place, Lookuptv, this is not a tribal place. These young employees who are here, they are looking forward to Lookuptv to succeed, and there's nothing like tribal here. If this thing fails, if this business belongs to any tribe, I don't know who owns it.
Yes.
All of us fail. Me and you, I can't talk here if it fails. So let us know that our Rubicon, that umbilical cord,
Yes.
is the economy.
Pretty much.
And that's why I'm asking Kenyans, let us unite. Saying that Nyanza should fail, if you don't take development in Nyanza, the country has failed.
Pretty much.
If you don't take development in Mandera,
yes,
the whole country has failed. And the failure in Mandera will affect Nairobi, will affect Murang'a, will affect Kisumu. Let us be one country, one nation, under one leader. And the president should actually be the one preaching this more than me, because me, I'm not the president. Me, I'm just someone teaching and eating chalk.
Pretty much.
Brother,
Mr. Ragalo.
They said,
yes.
So I was just telling them, if they don't bring, we will
Yes.
read. They said it.
Mr. Ragalo, I want to take your closing submissions. We only have 6 minutes left for this session. I'm going to give you 3. I also give Mr. Mungai 3. So we take closing submissions. And I want you to take your closing submissions from the numbers that I've just given you, because at the end of the day, it looks as if it's going to come to the numbers that are going to go in the National House.
Not reason.
Yes.
Numbers, not reason.
Yes.
Thank you, brother. You asked a very simple question. This bill is going to pass. The way my brother has said, numbers don't match up. And we know it's going to pass.
Yes.
So Kenyans, I welcome you into the tough times that are going to be ahead. And the bill is going to pass. After that, we're going to have a bloated budget. After that, we are going to have 50 CSs getting their big salaries, big vehicles, an office and everything. And then you, who voted Kenya Kwanza, we will face off. When I'm going to supermarket, don't smile at me.
Mr. Ragalo, going to leave it there. Mr. Mungai,
Yes.
just your reaction on numbers. Your reaction on numbers, isn't it? And then whether indeed it's going to be reason-based, just like Prof is saying that it should be reason-based as opposed to numbers-based. It looks as if now it is numbers game.
Kenya Kwanza has the numbers. Prof has said numbers do not lie. And we are going.
He's trying to be serious and he's having flutters in his stomach.
The only discussion is we have numbers.
That's it. That's been the thing.
Yes,
isn't it?
so
So, Mr. Mungai, did we just end there? We have the numbers.
Yes,
and then we
that's
close
the
the
only
show.
discussion. Yes.
No, you know, I've seen many of us are averse to hearing the truth.
we just end there. And then, well, we have numbers. Done.
Yeah.
And you guys have said it, we have them.
We have the numbers. It's done and dusted. And we keep praying for the prophets of doom, so that their day of redemption might come sooner than later. Thank you very much, our viewer. And God
In fact,
bless you. Have a
Simba,
good week.
yes, Simba, I had this discussion whereby at home, my wife told me that why we seem to got on well is because most men's discussion is like, this is my house. So whenever I say, no, you know, this is my house. So some men are just like, you know, this is my house.
Yes.
And you know, I'm the head of this family.
Yeah.
And this is Kenya Kwanza. What do you call the
mentality.
schema?
Yeah.
The schema.
Yeah.
The mental schema
That's it.
is that we have numbers. Do you know I'm the president? And do you know we were the ones who were elected? So the question is, we are the ones who were elected. Secondly, and let me give closing remarks.
Seconds, Prof.
For me, whether this bill passes or fails,
Yeah.
Kenya Kwanza is cooked. Doom if it passes, doomed if it's not. And the reason why, doom if it passes this way, the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza cannot be implemented with this bill passing. Bottoms-up approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cannot work if this bill passes.
10 seconds.
Boga, everything can go. And if the bill doesn't pass, Kenya Kwanza has been saying that we were elected on manifesto. Will deliver only if the bill passes. If the bill does not pass, they should resign, because then they cannot deliver their promise. According to me, doom if it is, doomed if it's not.
Guess what, Prof? I'll call you back.
And we have the numbers.
I'll call you back again. Today, I'm just going to sit, take notes. I'll call you back and I will tell you what each member of parliament did say, by the way, on this particular debate once I call you back, gentlemen, so that we see exactly what it is. Mr. Mungai, you've got to have task once you come back again. By the way, take this gentleman back to the time that they joined us in the studio this morning online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Guess what? Today, go watch what your member of parliament is saying about this bill. And if he doesn't say, then you go cook him. That's it. Goodbye.